Uh-oh. Where's my coffee? Is anybody here yet? I got a thumbs up already. Hello. I can wait for a little while for some other people to log in. I hope you are doing well and having a good day wherever you are logging in from. I forgot to use my microphone. That would be helpful. Let's see. Of course, I didn't think this through. Let's see. Let's see. Is anybody in here yet? Hi, everybody. How are you? If you want, I can wait for a little while for some more people to come in. Feel free to say hi. If you've never seen my channel before, my name is Sherry. I do content on neurodivergence. So if this sounds like something that's interesting to you, stick around. And hello, I don't know who gave me hearts, but thank you. I'm going to be, hi Ellen, how are you? I hope you're doing well. Hi Nicolay, how are you? Hello, just a person? Okay, that's got to be a bot. Hello, hello, hello everybody. Thank you. Hi Icon, how are you? Oh, I'm probably pronouncing your name wrong. I forgot. Hello. Thank you. Eventually I'm going to pick some mods to help me when I do my lives. So how is everybody doing today? My name is Sherry. And hi Jennifer, hi Lacey. How are you guys doing? I am a neurodivergent adult. I am a late diagnosed adult with ADHD and possibly autism. I know a little bit about ADHD because I was diagnosed 25 years ago. I'm actually 50. Thank you, Nicolay. I really appreciate that. I think it's important. I really, really do. Life is short and there's a lot of miserable people out there. And they can really bring you down, right? My prayer, my other acts of worship, my living are all, well, God bless you. Yeah, we all come from different beliefs. Everybody is a welcome here. My name is Sherry, and the content I do is mostly about ADHD. I am an adult with ADHD, and I've been struggling over the years. I was diagnosed at 25. I'm now 50, so for me that was 25 years ago. And some of the things I still struggle with today, but I've been learning different things over the years, and what I hope to do on my channel is two things. One, I want to put together some shorts and educational videos that have actual science facts and resources. So when I talk about ADHD and autism, and I talk about it being neurodivergent and you actually have a different brain, and your boss or your loved one says, that's not real, you can show it to them. And then I'll include the sources so they can go to this government website, or they can go to that peer-reviewed website or this study and see that it's actually true. You have a different brain. I bet you didn't know that. Thank you very much, Fun to Fly. So yeah, that's where we're at. I have a couple friends here. Hey, Con, how are you? Yes. So today I was thinking of mentioning briefly the anatomy of the brain. Does anybody here have ADHD or autism? I know that I have two people who are my friends, Hey, Con, and you'll have to remind me how to pronounce your first name, and Alan. Hello, Richard. How are you today? Thank you very much, Nicolay. I think it's really important. One of the reasons that I started this channel is being in my 50s and dealing with the same issues with bosses and workplaces and having people treat me like I'm crazy or I'm lazy or I'm just a baby. I'm being too sensitive because I'm a woman. Who knows? Oh, we can't give you accommodations. That wouldn't be fair for other people. They would get jealous. And I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm in the US, Funtafly. I'm in the United States. I'm tired of having to educate people, which that's even if I choose to disclose, because, it's still in this day and age, there's still a lot of misconceptions, right? There's still a lot of people who think, oh, you just watch too much TV as a kid. Yeah, it happens. And you know what? The last couple of years since I've started to learn about autism as well, unfortunately, because I actually had to disclose to my boss to ask for some accommodations since we had some changes in the workplace. I have there is a sensory processing issues that, they can come with being neurodivergent. So it's not uncommon for somebody who has ADHD or autism to have some kind of sensory issues. And basically you have different wiring in your brain. So when the message, when you feel something touch your skin, some people are sensitive to touch and clothes really, really irritate them. Or maybe sound just feels like it hurts. It's just so loud. I have the hearing sensitivity. And there has been some changes with the company the last few years. Hi. How are you, Keenan? Keenan, you'll have to tell me how you pronounce that. You're welcome, Richard. I just lost track of my thought. I just turned into a cliche. Yes. I'm so sorry. I hope I wasn't too loud. Oh my God. Yeah, I have sensory issues with sound, and I didn't even realize how bad it was until the company decided to put self-checkouts in the store I work at. Now, it's been a few years now, and I almost immediately gave my notice. Because I'm like, oh, hell no. It's hard enough to try to pay attention to multiple things. You're going to help this customer over there while you're ringing up this customer, but now they want you to ring up the customer in front of you, deal with the self-checkouts, go back and forth, and it's a lot. That is added more stress. So I have even more anxiety than I used to. What else? So when they added the new self-checkouts, which you just look in their direction and they're like, hi, welcome to so-and-so. Please put your items on the blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh, stop. And sometimes same time. Now the volume isn't too loud on those, but because now we have to package up orders that people, and I'm not complaining, I'm just saying these particular parts of the job that they've been adding have made me realize how sensitive I am to sound. Right, I do too. Haycon, is it Haycon or Horcon? I remember you saying something about that A being pronounced a different way. Yeah, the beeping. So we have these handheld devices that we use when we're in the store. So we can use them for different things. We can check to see how much is in the back room of something. If somebody wants an item, to see if we have it in stock. We can make labels, do all kinds of things. But now they program them that no matter where you are in the store, they jack the volume all the way up. Hi, Annabelle. Oh, my friend Annabelle. She used to work with me. I love you. I'm so happy to see you. Yes, I had taken, I don't know how much you know, but, and I'll tell you guys as well. I ended up having a neurodivergent burnout, and I've never had one before. And I actually didn't realize how much anxiety that I was internalizing. I mean, I knew it, but I thought that I was just being immature, right? So I guess because you're conditioned since you're young, any behavior that's deemed inappropriate, you hide it. And that's what masking is. And we all do it. If you go to an interview and you want to look your best and you present yourself the best that you can, you're being yourself, but still you are altering how you talk and what you say because you want to make an impression. The difference between when a neurotypical person does it, that is the regular average person who does not have ADHD or autism, is it's more natural for them because the society and the way everything's built is built with that kind of thinking. It's designed for the average person, right? Yes, I was gone for 4 months. 4 months. Yeah, the first week, I couldn't get out of bed. I was physically sick. And, I didn't understand what was happening. And it almost felt like, if you have a really bad flu or an illness and it lasts like a month or something, and maybe the fever goes away, maybe the congestion starts to go away and the sore throat goes away, but you have this physical exhaustion, that part of being sick where you get so frustrated from being in bed all day. So for however long you've been sick that you are just like, I can't take this anymore. You push against it and then you make yourself sick again. That's what burnout feels like. And yes. So the difference between Hi, Ego Shredder. How are you? He's another one of my friends here. And Annabelle used to work with me. She is wonderful. She has been such a cheerleader for me. She's been supportive. I'm so grateful for you, girl. I love you. I hope your bunnies are doing awesome. Is it Olive? I hope she's doing great. What else was I going to say? So neurodivergent burnout, and I'm still kind of learning about this. I got 100 subs. Oh my God. That means I got 2 more people. Thank you, everybody. Oh my God, I want to scream, but I will deafen you. I'll have to wait till I turn this off. Oh my God. Yes, I'm excited. Yeah, I'm really, really, really excited. I started having some ideas of what I want to do for shorts and videos. So I was thinking I could play myself and then be like a teacher or somebody who's educating somebody, and then somebody else going, that's not real. What are you talking about? And then me going, actually, your brain is wired differently. I don't believe you. And then me in the video, actually show the sources of the studies from the government website so people can go and look it up themselves. Well, Hakon, if somebody else here has sensitive hearing like I do, I don't. It'll feel like some kind of ice pick going in your head. It's horrible. So I don't know. My friend Annabelle can attest to this. Annabelle, when you were working with me, and we won't say where because we're keeping it generic, not giving personal information away. But were you there when we had the self-checkouts come in and when the handhelds, the Ironmans or whatever they're calling them now, they jacked up the volume all the way. And so you could turn the volume down, but the program automatically jacked the volume back up. And they programmed it to ring every time the phone rang, every time there was an issue with the self-checkout, every time there was a photo order, every time there was order you had to go on the floor and go get, every time the phone, everything. It's like beeping, and it's so loud. There were a couple of times I threw that thing, and I told a coworker that used to work with me as a manager. She's changed her position. I told her that. I'm like, I can't deal with these. And I had to ask for accommodations for that. So that's why I had to have a discussion with him and disclose it. And that was really uncomfortable. So yeah, what I was thinking of doing, if you guys are interested, I have some friends who have ADHD, and I have some friends who have autism, and I have some friends who have both. And even if you guys, any of you who are neurotypical, which is just like a fancy word of saying you're normal, you don't have to worry about this. if you have somebody you love that has ADHD or autism, and you want to get a better understanding of why they're different and see what things might be like for them, especially if you're in a relationship with them, please sub my channel. And I want to start doing this at least weekly. I was thinking Thursday afternoons might be good around this time if you guys like. And I was thinking that what I could do is, I used to be part of this class that was an ADHD group, and each week we went over a different topic. And ironically, quite a few of the things that ADHD people struggle with, people with autism also struggle with. There is a large overlap between the two. And so they use a circle now when they talk about the spectrum. We used to think of the spectrum as a line, so less to more. So you think of somebody who has autism that maybe it does impact you. It really impacts your life. It is very difficult, but maybe you can function enough to hold a job for a little while. So maybe that might consider that Asperger's or type 1 autism. And then you have where it can be more severe to the point that the person might be nonverbal, they might be in a wheelchair, they might have to have significant support needs. So there is that, difference in how much it impacts your daily functioning. But also too is they've changed it. So instead of the spectrum being like less and more, which is just very flat and stereotypical, it's now a circle. And within the circle are all the different things that you could struggle with. The one that I saw in the PBS video that I have, I'm not sure, I think I put it in the playlist that I have, that's What is Neurodivergence. Go there when you get a chance. It is very good. It's 12 minutes. It is about autism, but a lot of the things that they talk about, other neurodivergent people like ADHD also struggle with. So another part of the spectrum, so the ones that I remember, and my autism friends, let me know the ones that I miss. By the way, apologize. I just remember your reply. Oh, that's to somebody else. Sorry. So I know that with autism, some people, now you might have a couple of different things that you could struggle with. So one person might struggle with eye contact that is very uncomfortable for them. And so they don't want to really make eye contact very well. And maybe they struggle with ARFID, which is foods. The smell is the sensory thing where it makes them feel sick, and so they can't eat certain foods. And then maybe social issues of how they process and understand communication. And then another person might be like me and has issues with sensory, like the sound. Maybe I can make some eye contact and I'm verbal, but I might have other issues if I also have autism. And those two people can look completely different, and yet they both are autistic. So, and now that I've been learning about autism, because I might also have that too, and I've been exploring that with my therapist and my family, the more I've been learning about it, the more complicated it gets. So I'm like, wait a minute. There's all these things about ADHD that I never knew because I was diagnosed 25 years ago. I already thought I knew everything. I had all the books, I knew a lot because I had to educate myself. And some of you that know about autism and know about this thing called monotropic thinking, for my ADHD friends, that is a nice word that means hyperfocus on whatever that interest is. And you can dive deep into a subject that you are super interested in and you really engross in it and just absorb a lot of information. That's what I did when I was learning about ADHD, because it was interfering with my life really bad. I was having a hard time keeping it together. I was having a hard time keeping my job, and I literally thought I had bipolar. Thank you, whoever's giving me hearts. Thank you. So it makes you feel like you're crazy. And I don't know if it's still in print, but if for any women who might be here, there is a book that was, I think this might have been for women. There was one that was women with ADHD because it actually presents a little differently. And then there was another book that says, you mean I'm not lazy, crazy, or stupid? So yeah, there's a lot of myths and a lot of stereotypes. But the reason why I feel like it's so important and get out there and talk to each other about these things is, one, the world at large, they're not meaning to, they just don't have the information if it's not something that affects them. I mean, why would they? It's not something that you see on television, right? They don't really talk about it a lot. So they think that everybody's got a little ADHD. You're fine. And then somebody else, if you have autism, they might say the thing that you shouldn't say to people with autism. Everybody's a little on the spectrum. No, that's actually not factually correct. There are brain scans, and I cannot wait to dig into the juicy facts and share it with you. Yes, we're going to show everything so that we can better equip ourselves to know, no, we're not crazy. We're absolutely not crazy. We actually are born with a different brain. I mean, physically, we have a brain that looks similar to everybody else's. But so ADHD and autism are both considered and labeled as neurodevelopmental disorders or conditions. So what that basically means is that when you are a baby or a child and your brain and your nervous system is developing and maturing, that it develops slightly differently than the average neurotypical person. Now, there's no right or wrong, and there's nothing bad about it. But as you grow up, you are very different, and you do struggle with things, and you don't know why. And when you're a little kid and people get frustrated with you and you have no idea, I know for me, I was always afraid that these behaviors would come out, and I was desperately trying to hide them. I felt like a weirdo freak, and I didn't understand why. I actually didn't get social skills where I felt somewhat normal. Yeah, I didn't know, they didn't know about ADHD when I was growing up because I was born in the 70s, and I was a child in the 70s and 80s, and I was in high school in the early 90s. Nobody stopped to think that I might have a learning disorder, and I struggled a lot. And it's like these same issues and people around you not having patience with you for not being able to think straight to get yourself somewhere on time, having anxiety all the time, getting exhausted, not wondering why certain things might trigger you, and then you go into a meltdown or you freak out and you don't even know why. That's a horrible thing to have to go through and not have answers. And then you just internalize it and blame yourself. And then when you get to be an adult, like me, I'm highly masking, and I'm actually just learning about that now. I think part of it was when I got out of high school, my first job was in sales, and I was forced to approach customers and greet them. So at first I thought, you know what, that can't apply to me because I'm fine talking to people. But when I look back at the first job I had, where I had to approach a customer by the time they got to the third rack into the store, and I had to greet them, tell them what the sales were, I thought I was going to die. I was terrified. Now, I don't know if other people feel that way too. Maybe that's a normal thing when you're young. But now that I think about it, I learned from bosses how to act. Like, they would tell you if you're doing something wrong. And over the years, I kind of perfected it. But yeah, I do have a script. And it's funny, if you are somebody who is very verbal and articulate, and especially if you've grown up being, if your family's strict and has you be social, you learn the skills that aren't natural to you. But anytime there was a family thing, I just wanted to come home as soon as possible. And now that I've come back from a burnout, I've only been working 1 day a week because I don't know why, and I like talking to the customers. I get to know them. I really do care. I also think part of it is we tend to, from what I have found from other neurodivergent folks that I've talked to, is if they tell you to give 100%, you give 100%, and you wear yourself out, and other people don't do that. Let me scroll up and see if there are any questions. I wanted to ask you guys, what you would like to talk about. If you have any questions besides my story, yes, ego, I feel tired all the time, like constantly. I was watching some videos before doing this a couple hours ago, before getting ready, because I wanted to just kind of review what is different about the ADHD brain, in case you guys did want to discuss that. And they were talking about that. This woman I found, and I can find that. And when this live is done, and I update it and I make a description for it, I will put that in the description. She's a doctor, and she does neurofeedback, which I don't really know a lot about, but I think you might be wearing a cap. Somehow it trains you to have different responses, and somehow and it's expensive, I think, and I don't know if insurance covers it, but it teaches you how to regulate your nervous system. Let's see. Is there anything I missed today? Yes. See, Haycron, you have a friend that says everyone's a little on the spectrum. This is what drives me crazy, because there's some kind of divide between the outer world and the neurodivergent community on YouTube. And it's not like it's not out there. I mean, you've got Orion, who is a very popular, he used to be in radio, he's Australian, he's a very popular YouTube content creator who's been doing this for a few years, and he's actually become prominent in Australia, and they've actually, different government people there have come to him and asked him to help out at different talks with people to try to increase rights for neurodivergence. And he has, I'm sure, had a video. There's a couple other ones. The 3 things you never say to somebody with autism. You never say, you don't look autistic, so therefore you can't be. You don't look like you have ADHD. No, I don't look like I have ADHD. I might be very animated here because I'm excited and I'm happy. I'm very happy that I get to talk to you guys, and it makes me, and so yeah, I'm animated and it's sincere, and I'll be exhausted later, but that's okay. But generally speaking, and if you guys do want to get into education about ADHD, I can teach you about the different types and the types of struggles you have for each. There are 3 types. I have the inattentive type. So the stereotype for ADHD, you might think of a little kid or somebody who's very fidgety, hyperactive, just the classic can't pay attention. If you were like me and you have the inattentive type, that's more what used to be called ADD. It used to be ADD, attention deficit disorder, and ADHD, attention deficit hyperactive disorder. So one was hyper and one was not. But they did change the categories in the DSM-5, I believe. I'm not sure which volume they changed it. That's like basically the therapist, psychiatrist manual of all the different diagnoses for all the different conditions that humans can have in the psych field. So now it's all considered ADHD, and there is inattentive type, which is my type, which used to be called ADD. There is the hyperactive type, and then there's the combined type. So there are 2 reasons they changed that. One is that they're realizing that people like me, who mostly space out, you are hyperactive, even though you're not outwardly acting that way. What they were saying is that they're finding out if you have the inattentive type, which is basically the person that's sitting in the back of the class that is daydreaming and not paying attention, but you wouldn't think anything because they're not fidgety, they're not causing a scene, they're not doing anything, right? So they're just in their own world because they can't pay attention. What was I going to say about that? I lost track of my thought. Something about that. I just had a mental, it happened. So yeah, it's funny. So you can be hyperactive type. So I know that some of my friends here that I have met over the last few weeks, and then a couple of people that I've known longer, some of them are autistic. I know one person, I can't remember if it's you, Ego Shutter, or if it was another person I recently met. I don't know if it was Haycon. One of you was it Ego Shutter? Were you the one telling me that you have autism and now you're starting to sort through the criteria and reflect and see if you might get a assessment to see if you have ADHD? Because they do tend to run in the same families, they noticed. And if I'm all over the place, I guess that's part of what I have. So yeah, when you do write that down, I'll respond to you. But if I hadn't said it before, I would like my channel to do two things. I would like there to be some form of education that I can give you that actually has the resources. So if you do try to share things with family members, a relationship, boss, whatever, it's not me telling you. I will provide the sources so you can go dig it up and read it. And then if you have to, I mean, I don't know how much that would help, but I know that it helps me a lot to know I'm not imagining it. And all of these years that I was not accepting myself because I just feel like if I tried hard enough, I could force it. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Hey, Con, have you gone through the diagnosis process for both? ADHD is a much easier diagnosis to get. I want to say there is, and I actually just saw this today. I'm probably going to jot it down, and the next time I talk with you guys, I can show you the criteria. So I want to say you're on the waiting list. Is that for autism or ADHD or both? So people here, my therapist autistic, she gets me. You're okay. So luckily, in what country are you in, Haycon? Is it Horcon? I forgot, because that little HA, that letter, you had mentioned that it's pronounced differently where you live. In the United States, I don't know, you're in the UK? Okay. In the United States, I don't know as far as other countries, but in the US, the assessment process, and I looked at that today, that it's the same that it was when I was diagnosed in my 20s, is there's pretty much, I don't know, 10 or 15 things in inattentive and 10 or 15 things in hyperactive. And you have to get, I want to say like 5 or 6, like a majority of them have to apply to you in either or both. And it has to be something that is significant enough that it has impaired your life, because we all get distracted, right? We all get burnout. We all mask. Neurotypical people, regular people do all of these things too. The difference is that when you are neurodivergent, your brain doesn't function the same. So it can be a disability because it prevents you from being able to think straight with executive functioning issues, to plan your time, to get anywhere on time, especially if you have time blindness like me. It's a lot. And then if you have sensory issues on top of that, it could just make things difficult for you. It makes it hard for you to function when you're at work, depending on the kind of job you do and the type of ADHD or autism, and also depending on how severely it affects your functioning. Because somebody had mentioned in a community thing I was in yesterday, I was in an autism one, and somebody had mentioned that they don't want to say spectrum anymore, or he said something like, if anyone can be in the spectrum, then it's meaningless, which is true. But if any Viking history is cool, I just totally got distracted. That's not an interest yet. But I'm telling you, it's going to be. It's going to be. Because, sorry, I just kind of got derailed. Shiny things. I am not that I can't pronounce your name, and I apologize. How are you today? I hope you're doing well. So yeah, my dad's side of the family, when I did one of those DNA things with Ancestry.com, and squirrel, yes. So yeah, there's a stereotype of ADHD. Some people think, oh, you have ADHD. Oh, you're the fun one. We want to hang out with you. But then they don't realize why maybe you can't be there on time. And then maybe some days you're worn out. And then maybe some days you have emotional regulation issues, you know. So what kind of questions do you guys have for me today? Or is there any particular topic with ADHD or autism that you want to talk about first? Thank you. Definitely. So what I was thinking of doing is this was the other thing I was going to say that I wanted my channel to do. I want to have educational things that you can use and show the evidence so that you can see that you're not crazy. It also really helps to understand, if you understand why it's happening, right? So if somebody were to explain to you the nervous system, right, and the brain and how it all functions and why you might have some sensory issues and you're not being a baby, the wiring is a little bit different, like literally. Do you guys want me to list the parts of your brain? There are 4, if you have ADHD, there are 4 parts of your brain anatomy that are physically different than the average person. Did you know that? I was in an ADHD group, which was kind of like a class, and I've been mentioning this a lot, but I've been trying to figure out how I can distill the information down for you guys. Yes, ego shredder, it's true. So I don't yet know a lot about the areas of the brain for somebody with autism that are physically different. Although I've heard from a friend of mine, a YouTuber, Genevieve Knight, she is a late diagnosed lady with autism, that there are physical differences in autism as well in the brain, but I'm not really sure what that is. So I would have to go educate myself, and then I can discuss it with you. And if you guys know things that I don't, please feel free to share. I keep going in circles. I guess what I wanted to say, the other thing I wanted to do on this channel is I want to create a space where you guys can come and hang out and not have to worry about judgment. You know, you can just come and be yourself and unmask. And I know that you're typing, but I want to create a place where you're not judged, and you can be your autistic self, or you can be your ADHD self. And if you're like me, I'm 50, so you know, how much is me and how much is this mask that I've been conditioned to behave like through my 50 years of life. So it gets kind of complicated the older you are when you're trying to start to learn about that and sort through what part of your behavior is your natural neurodivergent self and which part is conditioned behavior that you have been taught since you were a child through adulthood, and then reinforced by bosses, teachers, relationships, the things that people don't tolerate. You talk too much, you know, why are you always late? You getting upset, you're too sensitive. Why? That was no big deal. Why are you upset? You know, stuff like that. I just don't want, I didn't have this. And that's why I started this channel, is that I thought, I was 50 and I recently started seeing counselor again because my depression got to the point that I couldn't get out of bed. And this was a few years back. And my therapist also has ADHD herself, which was a huge relief. And I feel like she respects me, and I feel like we're kind of equals, which is great. It's not the typical kind of if you see a psychiatrist, they tend to be more clinical and distant, and that's okay. They have reasons for that. And I always preferred, when I did go to counseling at different times in my life for different reasons, usually for ADHD, I did end up liking the licensed clinical social worker because they're more like heart-centered, more just matter of fact, and they'll connect with you more. And the fact that my therapist is also neurodivergent, which is a complete coincidence, but very grateful for that. I can't remember what I was going to say about that. But she is awesome, awesome, awesome. And I'll tell you what, one of the things I started talking with her about, and I had her send me some material, and I actually wanted to share it with you guys today. Because we started going over the nervous system. For any of my neurodivergent friends who live with chronic anxiety, because you don't know how you're going to talk like today, or, you're used to it happening, either having miscommunications with coworkers, not knowing what you said wrong, not knowing the hierarchy or the unwritten rules. And it becomes a sensitive thing because it really, I think all of these different issues, regardless of what you deal with as being neurodivergent, I just think it erodes your self-esteem over time. And it makes you feel, at least for me, I can only talk about my own experience, but I have heard this from others. It makes you feel broken. It makes you feel alone. The people in my household, my family, are neurotypical and they love me very much. My fiance loves me and supports me very, very much, but I'm left to fix it on my own. Now, you can't fix being neurodivergent because it's how you are. It's how your brain is wired. And then there are, whether you want to call them symptoms or traits, there's some controversy about that right now. We can always talk about that if you want. I have some feelings about that. I might not have the normal feeling about that. So I don't know if any of you guys have debated that. I heard that with either, I can't remember if it was autism, ADHD, or neurodivergence in general. And I read about it in my magazine and I got mad. Actually, I might find it. You know what? This might actually help. You guys want to do a debate? Do you want to see how you guys feel about this? So it is, I took a bunch of notes on this one thing that I wanted to start going over with you. So I'm starting with ADHD, but I do want to cover everything. I would like to learn more about autism as well, because I'm finding that a lot of people who have ADHD might also have autism and vice versa. I can't remember if the percentage was 50% chance. If you are somebody who is neurodivergent, I know that they're not exactly the same, but I think the typical person has, I think the percentage is small, whether or not they're going to have ADHD or autism. But if you have one, then you have something like 30 or 50% chance. It's much higher versus 1 or 2% chance, something like that. I did read an article the other day that was saying that, I was curious. I started doing a dive on, because to me, now there's so much of an overlap of symptoms that they both can deal with. I'm like, I have both in my family. I have people in my family who have just ADHD. I have a cousin who has ADHD and autism. I have another cousin. I got two cousins that have ADHD and dyslexia. My brother might have had dyslexia. My mom might have had a touch of it. I have ADHD. I might also have autism. And we can get into that sometime if you want to know why I have been going through that journey. Am I being too loud? Oh, you're just saying that sometimes you can be hyper. So as far as they'll say what causes ADHD, the biggest contributor to ADHD is genetics. ADHD tends to run in families. And it's funny, when the kids get diagnosed, and I hear this a lot with autism, they'll say, but we don't have that in our family. We don't have autism in our family. We don't have ADHD in our family. Oh, that's normal. Kids doing that, that's normal. Because if you go back a generation or two, they didn't know about those things. And maybe those characteristics or traits might have been normal in that family. And they don't realize that there was neurodivergence in their family. And then the parents start to go, oh, and then they might go and actually get diagnosed. So it can really help. I don't have kids, so I didn't have that. But yeah, they mentioned something about this particular article, and I'll tell you guys. You can actually get this magazine if you're interested, for my friends who may have ADHD as well as autism, or friends who just have ADHD, or if you have a loved one with ADHD. This is pretty good. This I got in September of last year, but I just saw it on the newsstands again this past month. So when you go to your local grocery store or pharmacy, and wherever there's news, wherever there's magazines, just keep an eye out for it. If you see it, grab one. If you're interested. Yeah, this talks about the different types of ADHD. I can tell you all about what it is. What was it that I wanted to debate with you? This is like predominantly inattentive ADHD. That's me. There's a predominantly hyperactivity, impulsivity, which that's the other side. And then there's combined. Some people have both. It does cause problems with relationships. I want to say, in my experience, and there are some challenges that I have that make me question if there's autism as well. I don't know if this is one of the challenges, traits, symptoms, whatever you want to call it. This one I wouldn't call a symptom. As far as communication, I feel like frequently, all the time, I feel like my fiance and I could be saying the same thing. I'll say something to him. I say, oh, you mean this? And he'll go, no. And then he'll say something. And I'm like, that's what I just said. That happens between us constantly. We constantly say things differently, and we don't understand each other. And the same thing with my mom. I was just talking to her, it was either earlier today or yesterday, and I started telling her about all the different, like me connecting with some of you and some of the discussions that I've seen in the comment section of other content creators, like autism content creators, and the things that different people were sharing about autism. And I started talking to her and telling her about how sometimes I understand things differently than other people. And I might have to ask them to clarify what they're saying. And I'm not dumb. I just feel like when I hear what they're saying, it just sounds like they're not saying it right. I'm like, well, they could just say it like this. But it turns out, and I don't know, those of you who've heard the double empathy problem with autism, that neurodivergent people, ADHD, I believe as well as autism, communicate and understand communication very differently. So they used to think neurodivergent people, specifically autistic people, did not understand communication very well. That's because the people developing these theories were neurotypical men, neurotypical scientists and doctors that brought their own biases with them, and that's why, like, some of the assessments, even today, if you want to go get assessed for autism as an adult, you have to be very, very careful. You have to, like, research the place. I just found out yesterday, I think, I found out a majority of these places, they might have psychologists doing the assessment for you if you're trying to get assessed to see if you might have autism, which a lot of people can't even get because some states don't have it at all, or there might just be a few places in the state that test adults. There's a financial barrier. One of the places I was looking at, it's $2,000 to $3,000. That's not cheap. But on top of that, they're still using outdated questions that were geared towards children, particularly young boys. So if I have any women who are in here who are thinking maybe you might have autism and you've been considering, like me, considering, geez, is that something that I should do? And if you ever come to that you decide, you know what, I do, it is important to me. Over time, you've done enough studying, enough learning about it, enough reflecting with people who may have known you when you're young to decide that the likelihood is enough to justify that expense if somebody even has money that can help you, or even if you have access to it. It's just overwhelming. And even the ones who use more current questions, they're still geared towards men. And there's nothing wrong with that per se. It's just that from what I understand with autism, it can present very differently in women than men. And I noticed that as far as special interests, like maybe guys who have autism, even though we're all very different from each other, maybe they tend to like guy interest things, maybe, and you guys can tell me the interests you have. Might be music, might be electronics, maybe it's like stuff that guys like, right? And I don't mean that in a stereotypical way, but maybe it's that more. So maybe they put those questions in the assessment. Do you like this? Which is silly. And it became a problem that a lot of women who were trying to find out if they might have autism as well were falsely getting negative results that they don't have it. Because the people who designed the test never really did studies on women. They weren't educated on how it presents differently, the symptoms as well as the traits. So how you behave might be a little bit different. Your interests might be different. I did notice that with women, autistic and ADHD, and I can't speak for everyone, I can just speak for myself and the people that I have gotten to know, and then some of the YouTube content creators who are women who are neurodivergent. The special interest tends to be socially acceptable to be obsessed with. Like for me, I used to be a beauty department manager and I was obsessed with skincare. I was excited I had this job where I got to do that. So it never occurred to me it might be a special interest. I was obsessed with hair color. I was obsessed with cosmetics because I always loved those things. But I could spend days researching one thing, you know what I mean? And so I think that might also be another contributing factor to how a lot of women don't get diagnosed. So I apologize. I feel like I've been so excited to have this live with you guys and, finally get an idea of a day that I was going to do it, that I feel like I've been just rambling like so much. I didn't even stop to breathe to ask you guys how you are. Let's see. Anything. The double-edged sword. Yeah. If I ever do that ego shredder talking too loud or too fast, let me know. Because I know what it feels like to have sound that's people talking that's too loud or irritating. I understand. So don't worry if you feel like I would be changing for you, because I don't want, I will accommodate all of you guys. I want this to be a place that you guys can hang out. And I know that my channel is really small. It's a baby channel. I think it's important. I mean, even if there's just like 3 to 5 of us that are meeting up every week, I don't know if that's something that's interesting to you. We can do ADHD class or neurodivergent class. And I was thinking all of these, ADHD classes I've taken over time. I am? Oh, good. I do ramble. And I guess that is my thing that I get embarrassed and try to stop. But since I was a little girl, constantly, you talk too much. So kids didn't want to hang out with me because I talked too much. Parents were always trying to get me to stop talking because I talk too much. I'm interested in a lot of things. I can't help it. I just feel like, well, why aren't you talking? Why aren't you thinking? Why aren't you interested in all these things? And I feel like, you're so boring. You know? Oh, goodness. Thank you, Ghost Shredder. I really do appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. Well, I was wondering, is this something that would be helpful or interesting to all of you guys? Do you want to meet up? Because I want to start doing more regular lives. I'm not to the point where I can do it every day like my friend Genevieve can. Eventually, I hope that I can do a couple times a week. But right now, I was thinking I could do one day a week. And then I can maybe build up from there. And if you want to talk about neurodivergent topics, you want me to look up something that you think might be helpful for you, I can do that. And then when we meet, I can share with you what I've learned. Or if we all want to learn different things, we can discuss together. Or we can always just hang out and talk about special interests, whatever you guys want to do. You know, I find there are stark differences between my male and female friends as to what I can discuss. So, Ego Shredder, let me ask you, are you talking about people in general? Like neurotypical people or just people in general? Or are you talking about neurodivergent friends? Yeah, Hakon is... And Hakon, I don't know how to say your name, and I feel like I know I'm saying it wrong. People in general. Well, I could definitely, if you have questions, and here's another thing that I think is helpful. All these questions we're afraid to ask. I feel like that's the good thing about us all having differences. Like, I might have a weakness that some of you don't have. And if you're good at something and I don't understand it, you can help me and explain it. And then I go, oh, whereas like a neurotypical would just look at me like, well, why do you have issues with that? Just do it or whatever. And if there's something with you, okay. Thank you, Hakon. I still want to say the name right, though. I don't know. That was kind of bugging me a little bit. I apologize. Yeah, if there's questions that you have, any of you, I know that some people with autism have issues with communication, and I can see that making somebody so embarrassed and not know how to communicate that they may just not even like want to ask because they feel like the problem is them. So if there's any questions that you don't understand, there are some things I can help you guys with. There is work politics that I've learned. There are some things that I might get that somebody else here doesn't, and I'm so happy to teach you because there's no shame in that. You know, neurotypical people have like unwritten rules, and I mean, I was just talking to my mom about this the other day. We were debating about the hierarchy structure in corporate America and jobs, and I was telling her how stupid it is to be so rigid. I was like, it's really dumb that they, you know, I found out that up to 80% of neurodivergent people are not working, even higher functioning people. And to me, that's not okay. That's not okay. Because that's a lot of people. That's a lot of people who are very intelligent, very capable people who should and want to work. And it's always, I feel like, at least in my, I can't talk about other people's experience. You guys can tell me what barriers you've had in your different jobs and what was expected of you that you couldn't do for some reason, that they weren't flexible enough to change for you because you have to fit their rules, you know? So for me, it was the talking too much. Right now I work in sales, so it's okay as long as I am mindful and I keep things moving and I don't spend too long on one customer because I could. And the lateness thing that I can't control. And at this point, I don't want to feel bad about it anymore. I just want to find either And it shouldn't, I feel like if it's only 5 or 10 minutes, it shouldn't be a big deal. Because, Patricia? How are you? Please don't be a bot. I don't know who you are. Don't make me get rid of you. Dude. Oh, you a real person? Hi. How are you? You just said it a bunch of times. You just like flooded the chat. You were very capable working, made it my mission to know everything about the job I was doing. It's how, right. So, do you guys want me to talk about this? I can share some things that I've learned with you if you still struggle with this. Right. Right. Hi, Patricia. How are you today? Do you have, and it's okay if you don't, do you know somebody who has ADHD or autism? Or do you yourself have ADHD or autism? This is our conversation today. We're talking about what it's like to be a neurodivergent adult and things that we can do to help each other. So you want me to talk about that? Do you guys want me to talk about workplace things that I've learned? I felt like I had to pick my mom's brain and find out the rules because they don't tell you. They just expect you to know because they know. I'm sorry you have asthma. I can't help you with that. But I hope you live in a place where you can go to a clinic and they can get you some Primatene Mist or some kind of help there. Okay, do you have a specific question? Because I can go on a tangent and I absolutely don't mind, but I'm trying to figure out how can I do this to make it concise and help you where, yes, hydration. Actually, did I bring my coffee? So yeah, if you guys are interested still, go ahead and get a drink. I got my iced coffee. I don't care how late it is. I'm not going anywhere tomorrow. Actually, wait. Oh, I do have plans. Okay. The thing that I didn't like specifically, I feel like when I was new to working, it was, when I was 19, I started working in the store that was the equivalent of a local chain that was kind of like a Walmart. And I found that I couldn't be on time. And the things I struggled with, other people had no problems with, like being on time. So I had this anxiety all the time because it was my first job. And then after about 6 months, I really needed, wow, I had a burnout. I was 19. And I asked if I could take vacation time. You know, I was working in the sportswear department for women. So what is the hardest thing to cope with while you are working? Depending on are you talking to me, Hakon? I'm not sure who you're talking with, Patricia. Unfortunately, I can't speak Dutch. I can only speak English. I learned a little Spanish in high school, but it was a long time ago. I can say colors. Patricia, we're talking about ADHD and autism. So, unfortunately, if that's not your thing, you might want to try another live. I'm sorry. I might not be able to, because I have ADHD. I might like to learn Dutch, but unfortunately, I kind of told some people that were coming today what today's topic was going to be. So today we already chose the topic, and it is about ADHD. So if that's not interesting to you, maybe you can come back on the next one, and maybe we can talk about Dutch next time. Does that sound good? All right. Moving right along. So do other people here feel like your neurodivergence interfered with you knowing the work politics and the unwritten social rules? And did you also perhaps get in trouble with a boss for something that might have been taken the wrong way? Or didn't realize that you kind of have to make your boss feel good about themselves? There's things that is expected, it's unwritten, but I was just talking to my mom about this the other day, and I'm like, well, why is that? I don't get it. There's actually If you guys check out on YouTube, there is a content creator. She was primarily on TikTok, so she does short videos. I haven't actually seen her in a little bit. Her channel name is Musings, Musings, Musings of My ADHD. That's both ADHD and autism brain. Musings of My ADHD brain. And for her, I think that, and I can't remember if she said this or not, but my impression was she struggles more perhaps with the autism aspect of her having both. And her main struggle is jobs, that she kept getting fired. She kept getting fired, and she's perfectly capable. Yeah, work politics and social rules were like another planet. Yeah, and they don't tell you. And it's frustrating because it's stupid. I mean, I feel it's stupid. I feel like if your job description is for you to do X, Y, Z and produce this product or this labor, that's what you should be there to do. But your job is to, you don't have to like kiss your boss's ass, but kind of gently over time, subtly try to observe what they expect from people. Sometimes you can straight up ask them, should I leave then subscribe? It's Patricia, that's up to you. That's up to you. I don't know if my content is mostly about ADHD because I'm an adult with ADHD. I might also have autism, and I have a lot of friends with autism. So we talk about these things because of the certain struggles that we share. And so we are meeting up to chat with each other about them and how we can help each other. I think there might be a way on here. I'm not sure how to tell, but I think you can click on my channel. That's up to you. If that's something that you think would be helpful, please subscribe. I would love it. And I can help you out the best I can. Lady P, we found each other via, that I Exist channel. Yeah, she seems very sweet. I just found her. Oh, thank you, Patricia. Thank you very much. So I guess, and I was just talking to my mom about this last night. Was it last night or the day? I don't remember when because I have time blindness and it's a real thing too. Thank you, Patricia. You're a sweetheart. I love you. Awesome. Awesome. I thought you were a bot at first because you just like tape the same thing over and over and over and over. So yeah, I'm glad. I hope you have a great night too. Thank you. Maybe next time you can teach me a little Dutch because I don't know any other languages. I don't know what that is. You guys can help me at some point. So yeah, I guess, oh, I just had an idea. I just had an idea. Oh, I forget how to say your name. Hakon? Horcon? I can't remember what you said. You said it, is that A with the little thing? Is that pronounced or? Is that what you said last time? It's going to bug me. It's like something I don't know that I can't receive the information. And it's like, gonna bug me, kind of like when I'm at work and somebody wants to find like a certain product and we normally have it and I then have to find it in the store. Oh, is hawk on like a bird? Hawk, is that correct? Hi Trevor, how are you today? I haven't gotten to talk to you yet. How is your Trevor? Is somebody, I don't remember what state you live in. I don't remember if it was Washington or Michigan. He is friends with another friend of mine, Lasha Rienko. And I'm not sure if you guys can click on his channel. His channel is Life and Legos, and he does a lot of collabs with Lasha. She is a lady in Canada who has ADHD like I do. And she does a variety of content. I know, Hakon, I know you said don't worry, but it's like a thing with me. When I meet customers, I like want to know. I want to be that one person who actually cares enough to say their name right. I don't know. It's a thing. Those accents on the letter, yeah, I don't know what they're called. Patricia, I wish I was a mom. I really wanted to be one, but that time has passed, unfortunately. So Today, Trevor, if you're interested, we are talking about ADHD and autism stuff. I know, can you send something to Lasha? Because I can't do it here. Let Lasha know that we're talking about ADHD stuff. That might help her. At some point, you guys, I would love to share with you like the different parts of the ADHD brain that are physically anatomy, the anatomy of our brain that is physically the anatomy and physiology. The anatomy is the structure. The physiology is how it works, right? Our anatomy and physiology of our nervous system and our brain is physically different. Yeah, sure. I feel like, Trevor, Lasha and I are always like doing things at different times. And if she's like me, like I can't keep track of time and I might think I'm going to go do something in 5 minutes and then I might stress I might space out, like go on a side quest, find something that's interesting to me. And then time warp happens. Let's do the time warp again. Do. And then it's like 9 o'clock at night. And I'm like, where the heck did the last 5 hours go? I was just reading an article. What? That sort of thing happens to me. I don't know if you guys have that happen to you. Do people with autism, my autism friends that are with me today, do you guys get time blindness? Do you lose track of time and have trouble sensing the passage of time the way some ADHD folks do? That would be interesting. That would be interesting. Really? Okay. Hawk on. Yay! It's hot. I met you at the same time I met Ego Shredder on the same day. So sometimes I will mix you guys up because I met you at, I don't know if it was in the same platform. I think it might have been the same day and the same time, and the same conversation. I think I saw you in the same. So in my brain, I mix you guys up. Ego Shredder, you have a similar birthday to me, correct? You're the Scorpio? Sweet. So both of you guys think you might have autism and ADHD? Oh, thank you, Patricia. My wall was pretty gross and I'm a new YouTuber. Well, relatively new. I can't believe it's been 9 months already. So I'm kind of learning it as I go. Okay, Hakon. My man is Aquarius. I think that his ascendant is Taurus. I don't know how you guys feel about astrology. Yes, it's a pseudoscience. It's not real, but it periodically, don't ask me why, becomes an obsession over the last 25 years that I have actually studied it and I have had teachers. So I wouldn't put myself, if you want to talk about special interests, I wouldn't put myself in professional astrologer, but I could talk to my teacher, who I haven't talked to her in a while, who is a professional astrologer, and she could just explain a couple things. I'll be like, oh, okay. You know, I get it enough. So I'm not a beginner. I'm maybe a little bit in between medium and like in between, what do you call? I'm not a novice. I'm kind of like middle of the road, and I'm not a professional. But if you're interested in that sometime, you guys will have to let me know. Would you, yeah, I'm not quite professional level. It's a hobby. It's a hobby. And I don't know if I've told you guys, I have a love of science. So there's something kind of weird about me that is really hard for me to come to terms with, and it's a conflict. And you guys will have to let me know if you are similar. So that part of me that might be autistic, that part of me that's very factual, that does critical thinking, that uses the scientific method, thinks astrology, and the intuitive things that I'm drawn to is a bunch of crap. And that side of me is not going to change your mind because you can't prove it, right? And I love science. I love anatomy. I love chemistry. I love earth science. I love the environment. I love animals, biology. I love science. Science is cool. I love science. Science. I love science. Yeah. And then the other side of me is intuitive, and I feel things, and then they end up being true. And so, yeah, it's kind of weird because my intuitive stuff knows things that my science side can't explain. But she doesn't accept, so they're both me. They're both parts of me. So the science side is pretty much my conditioning and how I was raised, because my father, oh, thank you. Hi, Dove. How are you? I haven't seen you in a long time. Woohoo! Do you like science, Hakon? He says, this is freaking cool. Yay! Yes, yes, yes. You guys will have to tell me like what specific science you guys like. If you have a specific kind. Yeah. Do you guys want to know like special interests I've had? Do you want to talk about that? Or do you want to get back to, so far, let's see, I'm all over the place. So I'm trying to like ground myself and refocus. So what would you guys like to talk about? Would you like to talk about me teaching you things that I've learned about the anatomy of the brain of an ADHD person, or help you with things like that? Do you want me to get back to social rules in the workplace? I'm thinking that we should do a day just of that, because there's a lot. There's a lot. Yes, yes. My father was a science guy. God bless his soul. I miss him so much. And I think he might have had autism. Oh my God, he was amazing. He was amazing. And we just thought it was because he was like this brainy guy. And I never really knew about autism until like a year or two ago. Talk about what you feel like. I can talk about everything. I love everything. So if you say that, my ADHD brain is just going to be like, squirrel. Hi, Patricia. Thank you. I hope there is a heaven. I hope there is an afterlife. And he did love me very much. Yeah, he did. He and I had very different, sorry, I didn't mean to. He passed. I'm like doing this with my feet because I'm sad thinking about it, but I'm also, I have to get tissues now. I'm also really happy. Oh, look what I found. Oh, my makeup's going to run and I'm really sorry. Not that it matters, but I'm happy if you guys want to hear about him because he was amazing. Yeah. He was a science guy. So towards the end, he became kind of like an ADHD person because he had piles everywhere, but he used to be much more organized. Thank you. Are you asking me, Margarita? Margatita. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Nice to meet you. How are you? I hope you're doing well today. Do you yourself, or does somebody you know or love have either ADHD or autism? We are talking about those topics today, but feel free to come by anytime. My name is Sherry. Nice to meet you, Patricia. Sheri. Sherry. That's me. And I tried to like figure out if I could put like Sherry Lady Phoenix, because Lady Phoenix is like kind of like a handle. It's like a name I've had over the years. And getting into symbolism, it's been like a spirit animal in my life. That's, yes, but spell it with, it doesn't matter how you spell it, but yeah, Sherry. But if you were to do one R and an I. Hey, Lasha, how are you? Yeah, I asked him to tell you. I should have like texted you. I mean, let you know. I didn't know if you were going to be doing a live or what you were doing, but today we are talking about ADHD and autism. Everybody, high voltage channel right here. This is my friend Lasha. She has ADHD as well. And if you click on her, if you want to subscribe to her, she's a really nice lady. She's a really nice lady. And she does a little bit of everything. You know, I actually have never seen the Squid Game. Believe it or not, I haven't seen it. I'm scared. I have a feeling that it's kind of like the Hunger Games. Is it like people die on that? Is it like a game show where if you lose, you die, they kill you? There's something scary that made me not want to see that. See, that's what I wanted to talk to you about, Lasha. Because, so some things I understand, forgive me, some things I understand and some things I don't. And it probably has to do with my neurodivergence. I might have autism as well. What I get confused, and it's okay. You don't actually have to pick a theme for your channel if you don't want to. So Lasha did you want me to talk to them about, yeah, oh, you had, okay. So yeah, she doesn't focus on that so much on her channel. I just happen to know from talking to her that, do you mind that I mentioned that? I'm sorry, I forgot. I didn't even realize I should ask you first. Is that okay? You want me to share the story? Well, today I had told them the topic was going to be ADHD and autism. So if you want, we can do a live about that. So if you go to her channel, she had a malpractice situation happen where, from what I understand, a surgeon did malpractice on her knee. And so she has to deal with this painful situation with her knee, and it's terrible. Okay, cool. So, Ego Shredder, do kids sing the famous 50s, 60s song? Yes, they sing one of two songs. They either sing Sherry, Sherry baby. Yeah, they sing that, or they sing, what was the other thing? The Journey song, which I can't remember right now. Okay, bye. Nice to meet you, Patricia. Hakan, what were we talking about before this? Do you guys want me to talk about my dad? Do you want to talk about the anatomy of the ADHD brain? Now he's got like 4 different topics. We were starting with the anatomy of the ADHD brain. Nice to meet you. ADHD anatomy. There are 4 areas of your brain that are physically different. I'll just throw it out there and we can talk about it more later if you want. 4 different topics are good. Lasha, I didn't get to tell you about my dad. So my dad was a science guy and he was freaking amazing. Yep. And my parents' marriage I'm very, very, yeah, I did. I miss him very much. It was unexpected. He was 72 and it happened in 2016. And it was a lot all at once. I was in nursing school and I was just in my 2nd semester and I was like hanging on with like nails, like, oh my God, nursing school. I should have done the LPN to RN program because the threshold for requirements for your grades is a little bit more reasonable. Yeah. Did you lose your dad as well, Hakan? Hakan? Yeah. Yeah, he did. I miss him. He was a science guy. My father, do you guys want to hear a funny story about him before my parents met? My dad had like a pair of those. Do you remember like those pictures in the 50s of those big black, almost goggle-like glasses that sometimes they would have the tape? He didn't have the tape, but he had those glasses. So my dad was the quiet type and he was the smart kid. And my mom, which is funny because she was shy, I guess maybe she had a friend who was popular. So she ended up being a cheerleader, but it was like, I don't know, terrifying for her because she was actually very shy. So it was like my parents is like the cheerleader married the school geek, you know, but it was awesome because my dad's just a late bloomer, you know, that's all. And I think now looking back, I really think he might have had autism. He did lose some time as he got older. He was a cancer survivor too. We can talk about that sometime if you want to do anatomy and stuff, but that's a whole nother thing. We got, luckily he got surgery. I was young. He got throat cancer. He had surgery. They removed it. He had the radiation and it took a long time. He had to learn how to eat over again and how to speak again. And he lost feeling in part of his tongue. and he was very sick for a while. I was 11. And then he would go and have the radiation treatments. And over time, after about 5 years, they cleared him. So he was lucky. Excuse me. He got to be one of the fortunate ones that they caught it early enough. Yeah. My dad was a science guy. Yeah. My dad and my ex-husband's family, one of them was a cool, neat, and an anthropologist. Nice. But yeah, so there's this story, like my dad, something he did, and I don't know if he was in grade school or if he was in high school. So my dad was a quiet type, and imagine back in the 50s was a different time. I don't know if you guys ever watched, like back in the day, Nick at Night. You see all those old black and white shows? Yeah. When we do lives, basement lives, again, you should advertise it. Okay, so Trevor is friends with Lasha at High Voltage, and they do lives together. So if you guys are interested, she does do readings. I don't know, Trevor, if you do Lego stuff anymore. I have to check out more of your content. But Lasha has had malpractice with her knee, and did you used to do ballet? She periodically does, freeform dance, and she will perform and record that. And she also does some readings from different books, which I actually enjoy. So that's good. What was I going to say? My dad. So, funny story. He was in either grade school or high school. Did I put these on backwards? Okay, good. So he was did you hear about like those chemistry sets in the 50s that kids could get and then have like different chemicals and they could like pour these things together? Yeah, he really loved science and math and all of that stuff. And he would do experiments about all different things and nobody had a clue. So one day he was in school. He might've been a kid. I don't know. He was in school and he had a chemistry set. I don't know how the teacher didn't know this, but apparently he was fooling around with these chemicals, and he was like, I wonder what happens if I put this chemical with this chemical. And he would mix some chemicals together in a little container. Let me put this down. He would make some kind of chemical mixture, and then he decided, put this in the window frame here so that the sun could heat it or, do something. And then he forgot about it, and nobody even knew he did that. And yeah, there was like an explosion. I don't know if anyone figured out it was him, but yeah, my dad consequently was like named the Phantom Bomber. Like he wasn't trying to do anything bad. He was just a kid or a teenager playing with a chemistry set. And he was like this quiet guy doing that. So yeah, my parents ended up going to the same high school. My mom was a year older. But it's funny, they didn't meet until they were in their 20s. So, yeah, there's other funny stories about that too. But yeah, so it's funny. Like my mom was like the begrudging cheerleader. Like she didn't want to do that. She was shy. And my dad was like the brain. And you know what? They were together since they got married their whole lives until my dad passed. So to me, I feel very fortunate because a lot of people don't get to have that. And that helped me a lot to have an example of parents who love one another. But the downside is when I was younger, I was very, very naive because of that. I'm not sure. They got married. Was it 65? No, wait. Okay, my mom, I think they were 25. So one of them was, my mom was born in 44. My dad was born in 45. So add 20, 65. So 1970. That actually sounds about right. And 70, 71. And then my dad passed away in 2016. If anybody's got a calculator and wants to do the math. I don't know how long that is. Yeah. So I grew up with my dad, having tons of piles of Popular Mechanics magazines, and he was like a walking encyclopedia. I could always talk to him and ask him questions about atoms and physics and planets, and because we would watch these science shows together that are cool, and I'm like, how do they even know that? I don't think they really know that. How can they possibly know that? Oh, this star is, made with this kind of gas and this. I'm like, how do they know that? And then he would actually be able to explain it to me, that this particular substance creates, when it burns at this temperature, it creates that kind of light. And yeah, right? So I don't remember a lot. So I would periodically go back and ask him. But I think that was his special interest, that. And then also he would do like target shooting. And this is what really kind of makes me go, I think my dad might have had autistic, because it wasn't good enough for him as a hobby to go to the shooting range. They wouldn't go hunting, him and his friend, but they would go to the shooting range. And it was like, a challenge to try to hit the target. So basically, he made his own bullets from scratch. So he'd have all these really precise little scales, and he would make different varying batches of bullets with minute little differences in the tiniest fraction of a weight. And he would then go to the shooting range and test them out to see which one was the most accurate with what gun. And he would keep records. So I don't know. There's that. And also, when I was young, when I was like maybe 10, he was a jogger. And now this is what ended up happening with me. So as I was getting older and I was struggling in school and they didn't know how to help me, I am very grateful that my father did charts and lists for everything, because then I could take this and apply it. And I think I was naturally doing some of the things that they tell you. So somebody said something about Jen. Are you talking about Genevieve? I think I see you on Jen's channel sometimes. Is Abeline, are you talking about Genevieve Knight? She's one of my friends. We've done some lives together. I miss her. Have you seen her recently? I need to watch some of her recent lives. So guys, at some point, I will share with you my friend Genevieve's channel. She has autism as well. She's a late diagnosed autistic lady, and she's a character. And we've done a couple of lives, so you guys will like her. And we have it's funny, in some ways we're opposite, in other ways we're similar. So she's a Leo, and I'm a Scorpio. I kind of don't really act like one in some ways. And I think I have, which one of you guys, is it Ego Shredder? Somebody was talking to about astrology, and he threw out his sun, ascendant, and moon. It was exactly the same as mine, and I nearly had a heart attack because I was like, what? I freaked out. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, no way. No. I was like, who is this person? I'm like, okay. And I was trying to think, because there was somebody who used to digitally stalk me, and I won't get into that because this is the past, but this person does that. And he's done this with other people. And I'm like, is this something I have to worry about? Is this somebody I know? But I don't think so. I thought I had hacked her. Don't even say that. That's not funny. I will freak out. I'll be like paranoid. Yeah, Ego Shredder is a Scorpio. So if you guys are ever Lasha, I don't know if I ever told you. I know that Lasha here on High Voltage, she used to do, was it Russian tarot readings? That is so cool. I ended up seeing one of your older videos. You were sitting on the floor. I don't know if you had a little smoke. You were like tranquil and you were just chilling. And she would put all the cards on the floor, and they were really interesting. I've never seen anything like that. Never. And I remember I had started to comment on her page, and one of the women in her community asked her if I do readings. If you guys are interested in spiritual stuff and new agey stuff, like I said, my science side doesn't accept it. So it's kind of interesting. I have an internal conflict about it. I always have. I always will. I used to try to like reason it out to try to see if I can get them to reconcile. Because you know what? There isn't one side. Honestly, the science part of me is huge. And it's a very important part of me. And it keeps me, the thing that I like about that is that's what helps me to tell when people are lying, like politicians, or when they say things like, I don't want to trigger anybody about vaccines, but you know, if I want to get down to, okay, what is factual? How can I remove the fear and the emotion from it? And I go into science mode and I know how to exactly look things up that are peer reviewed and how to find actual facts, specific, scientific, peer reviewed, proven time and time again facts. That's what I want. And then I believe that, even if it's not what I want to believe, because facts are facts and you can't, there's not like the truth and the fake truth and all of that crap. Facts. Can't argue with facts. So I have that side. And then my chart is predominantly water. If anybody knows about astrology, water signs are Scorpio, Pisces, and Cancer. These are the emotional, sensitive, intuitive signs. We all kind of have some of the qualities of the different elements, but this is like the predominantly way that they operate or feel or think. So we can do anything. We can be analytical. You know, each of them have different ways. Sherry, what about the fox? If you look on my old footage and my tarot cards, how my predictions about Megan and see, I haven't watched that, and I'll tell you why. Some of the topics that you talk about, and I'm just going to let you know, some of them are triggering for me, and it has nothing to do with you whatsoever. So some of the things I won't watch because I will get upset because the topic is something that upsets me, and it has absolutely nothing to do with you. So if there are some things that I don't watch, please don't be upset. I just want to let you know that. So if there's something I haven't watched, like, I don't know, the thing with Megan and all of that, I think because I went through that already, but I am interested. I'll tell you what, she was reading, actually, Aquarius, this is very interesting. I'm going to tell Hawkon about this. Did you know Aquarius is actually an air sign, but the symbol is the water bearer. So that's really interesting. Yeah. So a lot of people think Aquarius is a water sign because the symbol is the man that's pouring out the water. It's the water bearer. And I believe that represents pouring out knowledge and to humanity. So when they talk about the age of Aquarius, it has to do with technology, promoting like knowledge, evolving society, mentally, knowledge, technology, all of these things. But Aquarius is also associated with the 11th house, which is the house of friends and hopes and wishes. So Aquarius is very interesting. They're also associated with Uranus, which is a planet that's about not rebellion, but how somebody is unique and not conventional. They're a unique person. So air sign, it is predominant, a lot of like intellectual. So when you look at a chart, a birth chart, if you guys ever want me to do that, I can, somebody I know did a reading which predicted the death of a young guy in the online group. Oh, nobody knew he was ill and she saved the other side of the world to him. Did he survive? Did he survive? You go, that's scary. I'll tell you what I do. If you guys ever want me to do a chart for somebody, I can. I kind of like go in depth and I kind of like lose myself a little bit. And I think that's why I get into it. But I don't know if this is a Scorpio part of me. It's not good enough for me to get into something. I want to undig every rock and then that's not good enough. And I'm like, okay, what else am I not getting? I will make myself insane. I know I do need, do you know how Jen is somebody, and you haven't met her yet, Lasha. She's somebody that I made friends with when I started my channel in May. And she and I bonded over, okay. So my friend Jen wanted to be my moderator, and she was going to teach me all of these things. And she and I have kind of like lost touch lately because she ended up having to leave her home because I wouldn't say that they kicked her out. They asked her if she wanted to renew her lease, and she didn't, and they didn't give her much time to leave. So now she's off the grid until they find a place to live. So she has been doing lives. So Lasha, I don't think I have my subscriptions. I don't think I have them on public, but if you wanted to look for her, her channel is called I'm a Dog Too. No, that's fine. Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I just didn't want you, since I want to do lives with you, Lasha, and also I want to do lives with Jen. So I just want to be upfront, so you guys know that she and I have been friends and already had this arrangement that I was going to do one for her. So somehow we'll work it all out. I would love to do lives with anybody who wants to do a live with me. I think the more people that we get on and discuss things with, the better. Speaking of, something that occurred to me. So Lasha, I have a friend, I don't know if Alan is still here. Alan, are you still here? He's a friend that I made on Genevieve's channel. She has two channels. One was about autism, and it used to be called Tales from the Spectrum. And then she has the I'm a Dog Too. And Alan is a friend of mine. He's an autistic gentleman. He's very sweet. And he's been so supportive. He just watches all my videos. I'm just grateful because I feel like they're unwatchable. I'm just grateful. Any of you guys watch, I get so self-conscious, but I feel like if I don't know, my particular, one of my neurodivergent struggles that I have, and I'm really curious if you, yeah, see? Yeah, I feel like, I just think it's more interesting, right? So my friend Jen, I met her, she was doing a live. I started my channel in May. I didn't know what the heck I'm doing. Yay! So my friend Alan, one of his special, can I tell him about Marilyn? Can I tell them about Marilyn Monroe? How can I disagree? They are very, oh, thank you. See, feedback is very good. And I don't know if it's like the perfectionist in me. Maybe that's all the years of people telling me I talk too much and not understanding me, that maybe I come across okay to other neurodivergents. I knew Alan was going to come back. I was going to shout out Alan, see if I got to do. Alan's a sweetheart. He is a sweetheart. He hasn't been feeling well, so I hope that you feel better. Fine, if you can. I don't know if you can leave your house today. He's just not feeling good today. I don't know if you can get your hands on some Pedialyte or Gatorade, but please, if you can. Is it okay if I tell them about Marilyn Monroe a little bit? I watched that documentary. I asked him because okay, so guys, one of the interests that I used to have, because we talk about special interests. If there's anybody who's here who does not have ADHD or autism, you might say, okay, what's a special interest? It's when an interest that you have, a passion, a hobby, like takes over. Like you don't want to talk about anything else. You get around, when you do get social, you don't want to talk about the small talk bullshit. You don't want to talk, and they're like, what are you doing now for work? And all these stupid superficial things. You want to talk about that thing that you're interested in. When you stay up all night and you're really, that's when it like crosses over into special interest, right? No, Lasha, you have no idea. You have no idea what I got going on in here. I have so much in here that it's just like, whoop, I have a lot. Oh my gosh, I get obsessed. Sometimes when I get really interested in something, it's called monotropic thinking. And I believe that both autistic people are definitely known for monotropic thinking. And Oh, thank you. Is that, yes. Okay. So Alan, one of his special interests, one of the things that he's passionate about is the history of Marilyn Monroe. And I used to be a beauty department manager. And some of the interests that I've had due to being into the field of beauty is when I was 14, I was finally starting to make friends that actually wanted to be friends with me. Before that, I really didn't know how to act. And that's the whole neurodivergent story. But one of the things is my brother passed away, and my mom wanted to cheer me up. So it was either that year or the next year. And back then was like the early 90s. Let's see, I graduated in 93. So it was 1989. It must have been like 1990 when we did that. Back in the day, they had Beauty for All Seasons, and it was a color analysis. And I'm obsessed with that. And I've been working on my own personal palette on and off for years. I've got swatches that I've handmade. I mean, I've got every form of color and personal color analysis that there is. I have books on the regular 4 seasons, the 16 seasons. I got it all. And then I also have another version. How did I get into this? So this is where the Marilyn connection comes in, because as a girl who loves beauty and makeup. Oh, so sorry, I missed a segment in there, so this probably won't make sense. My mom paid for us to have our colors analyzed for Beauty for All Seasons. And, you know, she's a contrasting cerulean autumn, and I'm a contrasting something else autumn. But at the time, we were just coming out of the 80s, so it was all like the big bleached hair and the aqua eyeshadow and everything. And I couldn't figure out why every color, which was pastels, I looked pale all the time. I looked sick. And I just figured, I'm French. All the people I ever knew that were French had this pale skin and dark circles under theirs. So well, it turns out they were the wrong colors for me. And yeah, the lady came and she brought like this rust colored orange. And I remember they would put like this swath of material on you, which was your ideal color that would bring color into your face. So I'm like, whatever. And I said to my mom, I'm like, oh, I feel sorry for the person who gets that Brady Bunch or like that ugly 70s rust orange. It's disgusting. And she walked right up to me and put it on me. And I was like, oh, nearly died. Okay. Bye, Lasha. Nice to see you. You're going to work on a video. Okay. No problem. Have a good night. Have a good night. So bye, Trevor. Thank you for popping in. Nice to see you. So yeah, I was shocked. And I thought that was the most disgusting color because I look like one of those, I had the mole hair. My hair was bleached. I look like a different human. I should totally find one of these pictures to show you guys. You wouldn't even recognize me. The aqua eyeshadow, bleach hair. It's not good. Yeah, not good. Yeah, I was a child of the 80s for sure. The hair, the bangs, and then the wings. I have to dig up that picture to show you guys. You will laugh. Yeah. That was a look. So yeah, those 70s oranges were not in style. But then they brought a mirror and they had some of this rust colored blush and all of these brownish kind of colors. And all of a sudden I look healthy. And when I wear these colors, look, I'm 50 years old. This shit makes you look younger. It works. And so I've been obsessed with it ever since. And sorry, I didn't mean to go on a tangent, but my connection with Marilyn Monroe is that I love all that beauty stuff. I love the color analysis. I love learning about skincare and the chemistry of skincare and the layers of the dermis. So then I went through a phase of that, the melanin production and the ways you can help your skin to stay young. Also, I love to learn about the chemistry of henna. I'm about to henna my hair soon, guys. Sometime soon, you are going to see me with auburn hair, and I will show it to you, and I'll explain why henna is so good for your hair. And yes, it's been a long time, but usually I will do henna and I'll have red hair. So that will look good with this whole Phoenix thing. Bye, Lasha. Good to see you. Thank you very much. I'm so glad to see you. Come here, and I'm going to come during one of your lives, or we can do one. Yes. I'm going to be doing this every week on Thursdays, unless you guys want a different day. If you want to do Fridays, we can do Fridays. But I was thinking that Thursdays around 3:30, or maybe, or 4, somewhere between 3 and 4, or maybe Fridays. But yeah, I can't really do. So Tuesdays, I'm just trashed from working, and that's my antisocial, like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to have any, that's my boundary. Like, that day is mine. I have nothing. I just do whatever I feel like, and I don't feel bad about it. That's my selfish day. Wednesday, I'm kind of feeling better, and Thursday's my energy's back. So Thursday's good. Thursday, anywhere, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, like any of those days are fine. So whatever is good for you guys is good for me. Oh my God, I just talked about so many things. Marilyn Monroe. Oh, her connection to, that's what I was going to tell Lasha. I don't know if Lasha's still here. I'll tell you, Alan, I watched that documentary about Marilyn Monroe, and I didn't cry, but oh, and it's like I knew all of those things, except I didn't know like all of the stuff. I knew that she was probably involved with one of the Kennedy brothers, but there's a lot I didn't know too, and that was really depressing. So that really affected me. But don't feel bad, because I do really love Marilyn Monroe. A lot of girls who are into beauty, or really into like having, my fiance came home. Hi, how are you? He won't talk because he doesn't want to be in here, but that's okay.
Doing good.
Yeah? He's right there. So my fiance loves me, and he supports me very much. He's over there. He just came home a little while ago. But I respect his privacy, and I respect that he's not into this, and that's okay. So there was one time that I was talking to him, and I was like recording myself talking to him, and we were having a conversation about something, and I said, how do you feel if I use, he's like, I'd really rather not. So I'm like, okay. So I would love to pull him in and do live with him or video with him, but it's not his thing. So yeah, he's going downstairs to do his interest, do his thing. So he has an area down there. So yeah, I have a connection to Marilyn Monroe with the beauty stuff. And also, anytime I've seen something about her, I know that this is an icon. Not to mention Jack Lemmon. What? Oh, because they were, I never saw that movie. I don't think I've ever seen one of her movies. I don't actually think I've seen her movies. I just always loved her. There's certain celebrities I've been drawn to because she just seems like a light, like I feel like she had a big heart, and there was something about her that was very, very sweet. So yeah, Alan had recommended Bus Stop, but I did ask him, oh, Trevor, if you see Lasha, mention to her, the whole reason I kind of forgot, the whole reason I brought up Marilyn Monroe, because of my connection with Alan, but Lasha had been reading Ask Not, right? And it was all about the Kennedys. And so she would be very interested in the documentary that I watched about Marilyn Monroe. She would be very, very interested in that. And because there is a lot about them in the second part of the movie, a lot. And I was like, wow. I saw part of one of her, I don't know if it was a live, where she was reading from that book about them, about the women and everything. Marilyn paved the way for women in fashion, beauty, and she was the first woman in Holiday to have her own production company. I did not know that. That is cool. Oh, in Hollywood. Yeah. I saw that in the movie, and I was like, wow. That made me go, oh, I wonder if that's part of the reason why something. So there's so many things that were swirling around her passing that was just been so sketchy for so many years. It's always been such a, I felt so bad for her. I think my mom's favorite movie star was, oh, I don't know who that is. You know who else I haven't seen her movies, but I really liked and I felt very badly for she died tragically was Natalie Wood. Natalie Wood, when she was young, she was so beautiful. She looked a lot like my mom. So my father was blonde, dark blue eyes. So he had like dark eyes. Like if you were to look at a picture and you didn't see the color, you would think they were brown. He had blue eyes and kind of like sandy dark blonde hair. But when he was a baby, he was like, they call it towhead. It was like white, blonde, right? And my mom was a brunette, almost black, and dark brown eyes. So I'm like kind of in between the two of them. I don't even know why I said that. I don't know what we were talking about. Oh, Natalie Wood reminded me of my mom a lot. She's so pretty, Natalie Wood. And I found something interesting about her. You would be really interested, Alan. I know that you may or may not like Betty Davis if you knew her personality, and she was kind of a polarizing figure because she was a tough cookie and she pulled no punches, and yeah, she could be ferocious, but she's kind of a New Englander, so that doesn't bother me so much because I get it. It was such an awful time. I mean, the whole Me Too movement, that's been going on. I didn't realize how bad it was, especially seeing that. You guys, if you want to know what I'm talking about, my friend Alan here, he's like an expert on Marilyn Monroe. He loves Marilyn Monroe. I love her. I think she was a sweetheart. Anytime I have seen something over the years about her, my heart just goes out to her because she just seemed like this pure heart. All she wanted to do was love and be loved. She didn't have any like ulterior motives. She was just like a good person, who was gorgeous naturally and of Hollywood machine. Did this thing kick me out? Are you guys still here? Hold on. How much is okay, I got 64%. Okay. Oh, yeah. So scary. So the thing that I thought, her publicist, Pat Newcomb, is still alive, age 95. She knows the truth behind the Kennedys. Yeah. I do like old Hollywood. I love old Hollywood. I'll tell you, as somebody who loves beauty, and I think that I was so attracted to that because with my neurodivergence, and I didn't know any of that, all I knew is I was a weirdo and nobody liked me, and I didn't know why. And I knew that there wasn't anything wrong with me, but I didn't know how to act, and I thought, if I can only learn how to be pretty, if I could only learn how to do makeup, I'm like, I don't look terrible. How come I'm made fun of? Like I didn't understand the social rules. It's like, in some ways, I didn't understand. So beauty and makeup and learning these things as a teenager, I just wanted to be accepted, and that was like my vehicle towards that. And then I've been, when I had my colors done with my mom, she treated me to that after my brother passed away to do something very nice for me. The bonding mother and daughter thing. And between those and then other interests with beauty, it's just, that's what kind of formed me in that way. But yeah, I've always loved that stuff. And so naturally, and then my grandmother, my father was born in 45. So my grandmother must have been born in the 20s. So yeah, she loved the old Hollywood women, because she grew up then. And so she would be like, oh, Carol Lombard. She would just, and I haven't watched a lot of the old, yes, right? Betty Davis. No, I haven't watched her movies. I've seen famous clips of her movies. She didn't pull any shit. The thing that I do respect about her, and who's to say, if you worked as a woman in Hollywood back then, you had no rights. You had no rights. They could change in your contract. They could dye your hair, give you plastic surgery. You had no rights. And then they could threaten you if you decided not to do it. And so she fought against that, and they didn't like her, and they had said that she wasn't effable, because she wasn't like stunning by the beauty standards of the day. She was beautiful. If you look at pictures of Betty Davis with her big eyes back when she was very young, she was gorgeous, I think. And I appreciate the woman who is not afraid to piss people off, to stand up for herself, because I can't always do that. But my mom would do that. She does it more diplomatically. My grandmother, her mother, she'd pull no punches. She'd just come right out and tell you what's what. Irish through and through. Fiercely loved and protected her kids. God help you if you were on her bad side. She would scare me sometimes, but she was amazing. So yeah, I grew up around strong women. What was I going to say about Betty Davis? Oh, so the Natalie Wood thing, right? So you guys know how, if you know anything about Natalie Wood, she was an actress from the 60s. If you're a younger viewer and you aren't familiar with some of the actresses from older times, I was in the 60s. And yeah, Doris Day was sweet. Doris Day was sweet. And again, like, there's a lot of movies that I have seen. I love Audrey Hepburn. So basically, a lot of girls, I got into this whole vanity phase, trying to create a little beauty nook for myself once we moved here. Oh, Elizabeth Taylor, stunning. However, she was the Angelina Jolie of her day. She stole somebody else's man. Yep. She didn't care. So they gossiped about her. She was a little bit of a hussy. She was a man stealer. Really? She was mercurial. Is that the right word? Like, she was a very passionate lady. But yeah, so there's a connection with Betty Davis and what's the lady I was just talking about? That was afraid of the water, that died drowning. God, I just said it. My brain just went, guys. I'm so sorry. Natalie Wood. So, do you guys know why Natalie Wood was so afraid of water? I just found this out recently. Yep, Natalie Wood. So, Betty Davis just ripped into Natalie Wood's mother. So, Natalie Wood was very young when she started in the business. And I don't know what the movie was that they worked on together. I want to say she was a young teenager, maybe 15, whatever, 16. And Mr. Kirk Douglas, not Michael Douglas, Kirk Douglas, he did something not good to her. So she was going to have some meeting with him and it was going to set up her career, whatever, but it was in a hotel and she was assaulted by him. And then when she went back to her mom didn't care. So her mom basically said to her, suck it up. This is going to help you in your future. So her mom didn't care that she was R-worded by Kirk Douglas. So her mom made her get into acting. Her mom was a stage mom. And then Natalie Wood, while she was young, after that, she worked on a movie with Betty Davis. And she didn't know how to swim. And why Elizabeth Taylor was loudly booed by the crowd at the Freddie Mercury tribute concert in 92. I stood in the crowd and was front third and heard about it, but it must have been edited out. Oh, you'll have to, I'll ask you about that in a second, because I won't finish my story. So apparently, Natalie Wood did not know how to swim, and she was required to swim for this role. And this was old Hollywood. So they employed like mob type people. So they really enforced what they wanted. So they owned you. If you were an actress or an actor, probably had, more freedom if you were a guy. Women were kind of like disposable unless you were like a big star. But so her mom's like, just throw her in, she'll be fine for the water. She was scared. She didn't know how to swim. So, and the director's like, well, she's got to swim. And her mom's like, yeah, just throw her in, she's fine. So I don't know if the mom pushed her in or somebody pushed her into the water, but she got pushed in the water. And she didn't have a choice about it. And she absolutely did not know how to swim. And it was so traumatic that for the entire rest of her life, she was terrified of water. So her mother messed her up. Betty Davis was around there, and Betty Davis was having none of that. So Betty Davis, I think it was like later on, she found her and just ripped her mother a new one. I want to go dig that out now. I think I watched, I can't remember what channel it was. It was all about like the history of actors and actresses. So each video was like a different famous person from the old Hollywood time. And a lot of them have these same similar stories, unfortunately, that you hear about now with the Me Too. I mean, we always knew that there were unscrupulous characters who would try to assault women and it wasn't safe, but you didn't think it was all of them. Apparently, it was all of them because they got power, you know. So Elizabeth Taylor was loudly booed. So yeah, I'm interested in that. So yeah, that's why, you know, Betty Davis, she had a friend. She would stick up for them. If she saw something wrong, she would stick up for them. Are you guys still here? At one point, it said you are live. So it's almost like it kicked me out and started it again. So are you guys, can you still see me? Has it canceled my live? Do you want me to keep chatting? I'll chat as long as you want because I'm having fun. And I never talked about the anatomy of the brain yet. Like, subscribe if you want to know more about ADHD. And I try not to be a bore. That was lame, but that's okay. I don't see anybody. I see there's 4. Oh, let's see. She was stood giving her speech about AIDS. Oh, yes. I forgot about that. Wow. I remember. Well, vaguely. I don't remember about that incident. This was in 92. Elizabeth Taylor was loudly booed by the crowd at a Freddie Mercury tribute concert in 1992. Ego Shredder, are you saying that you were there in the crowd from front third and heard it? But it must have been edited out. Is it because she was supporting people with AIDS? And back then, there was so much fear about that. There was so much prejudice and fear about that because they didn't know, right? They didn't know if you could catch it from somebody. They thought if you touch, because people were dying, you know? And I remember like I was in high school in the early 90s and on MTV and different channels, they would always do for, you know, the young teenagers, they would always do these public service announcements for wearing condoms and having safe sex. And they would really talk about AIDS, you know? So they don't really talk about it now, but everybody's on social media now. They didn't have this back then. They had TV and cable and MTV. Actually, I think that was before they had like hundreds of channels. I think they had like 40 channels and that was it. Basically. When I was in high school, just before I graduated is when grunge came. When I first started my freshman year in high school, Vanilla Ice came out with his music. Oh, Håkon, you're talking, is that like about communism? Was that when they were going after people? They booed her it seemed they booed her rather than like listening to what she was saying. Yeah. I'm kind of not surprised in a way. I mean, it's sad. But people were very prejudiced against anybody who was gay. It's more accepted now, even though there is, where I live in the U.S., there's still, if you go to the Midwest, if you go to some of the southern states, they are more, you know, prejudice because it's the Bible Belt. They take the Bible literally, and they think if you're gay, you're going to hell. I'm not God. I don't know that. It's not my job. Oh, so I'm just going to throw this out there. If anybody ever becomes part of our group that happens to be transgender, gay, whatever, I'm totally fine accepting them. It's important to me. So I don't know how you guys feel about that. Hopefully you're accepting. You don't have to, you don't seem like, any of you don't seem like that would bother you. But yeah, I don't have any kind of agenda. I feel like that's not my journey. So I feel like I don't have a right to judge other people. This is just how I feel. I don't know if this helps you guys. Just getting to know me and how I feel about different things might be helpful. So if we develop a community and it grows over time, definitely I want everyone who is neurodivergent or different to feel safe. We go through enough, you know. I want this to be a place that people can learn about their neurodivergence or talk to other neurodivergent. Yes. Yeah. We don't have prejudice on color, race, or sex. Good. Yeah. And I have different feelings about, yeah, I probably won't be talking about politics. I have personal feelings. I might someday if I feel safe to do so. Right now, I definitely won't. I won't do that in the beginning until I get to know you guys and see how you feel maybe. But that's not why we're here. And it's a very frightening time right now. I've been disillusioned, but anyway. Yeah. I don't have control over that. I don't have control over a war. I don't have control over other countries. I have no control over dictators in other countries. I have no control over injustices in our own. I have no control over who's in the White House. I have no control over anything. But I can, and I kind of joke about this at work. I'm like, I can save you money, then I can be nice. That's what I got. And then here I can be nice and I can share stuff with you. And that's what I got. And I can accept and love you guys. Because when I started this channel, I thought, okay, I was scared. And I thought, oh, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to get into the religion thing. So, yeah. I mean, if you guys want to talk about that stuff, you can. But just know, if it's like one of the... So they say never talk religion or politics. That's a saying. And it's a good reason. Because that's the thing that if you can't bring it up at Thanksgiving without people fighting, maybe we shouldn't talk about it. So we can agree to disagree and still care about each other. I don't want to tell anyone what they should talk about. You guys should be able to talk about what you want. You guys can help me decide. Yeah, ego. It's a sticky, tricky little thing, right? I'm not religious. Yeah, you can if you want to, but I know that it's so personal for some people, right? Some people, religion is their life. And if that person is neurodivergent and they want to be accepted, I don't want to judge them for that. And it's not necessarily what I would do. And some people take it in a totally dogmatic direction. And I don't agree with that. But as long as they don't tell us we're going to a bad place because we don't go to their church, if they start doing that, then they'll be gone. Yeah, as long as we're all like respectful of each other, that's all I care about. Because, see, this is what's tricky. This is what I was thinking as we develop a community. I don't necessarily, I'm like easygoing. I don't want rules. You know? If we have rules, we're dealing with, you're neurodivergent. You're already stressed out going to work and whatever. You're like, don't know how to act, don't know what's expected of you. And if this is going to be a space where people can just be themselves, you know, if I have rules, then it kind of negates that a little bit. But yeah, just try to be nice to each other, guys. Try not to get too dogmatic. That way we can all, right. That way we can all accept each other and not fight. and then it won't get personal. Yeah. Problems start when people think your thoughts and views are exactly you as a person. Yeah. Now, here's another reason why I think that that's important as well, ego shredder, to like set it up like as we get used to each other. That right, Alan. It's like I want to like if you guys agree, I'd like to strike a balance. I want people to be able to be themselves, but I don't want someone to not be able to talk about things, but if it's something that's hurtful to people, just don't, yeah. And now let's say somebody comes in and religion is very important to them. It might not be something that I necessarily agree with if they're very dogmatic, but now if I tell them they shouldn't be that way, and that has given them meaning, like some people, they swear that that got them out of a dark place. Like, let's say somebody was suicidal and they went to Jesus. And who am I? I believe in God. I don't, I have, this is a whole nother conversation, but yeah, I've had some bad experiences. I went to visit a friend who moved to Utah and she told me how scary it was there. And I didn't believe her. I did not believe her. And then I went to visit. My friend's family was Mormon. And let me tell you, in Massachusetts, it's not a scary thing to be Mormon here. No, the Mormon churches were cool. I went to see her go to her church. There was like a dance there. They had a band and they had a fog machine. And kids were like running around the building. And it was just, nobody tried to tell you, you were welcome there anytime you want. And they didn't tell you that you had to become one of them. They accepted you. And that was how they had an open door. And then, of course they would hope that they can be there for you if that resonated with you, but they didn't push it onto you, right? And then my friend's family, her mother, her family was very into Mormonism, which is okay, right? Like I said, if that's something that brings people meaning, God bless them. And when I try to talk to her, she'd be like, dude, it's scary here. I don't like the church here. I'm like, what are you talking about? Can't be that bad. And she's like, no, it's scary. And I was like, what? And I was 19, and you guys want to hear what happened when I went to Utah to visit my friend at 19 years old in 1994? Anybody see Stepford Wives? Have you seen the commercial for Stepford Wives? They're all very perfect. And they're all little clones. And they're all wearing floral dresses. And they're made up to the nines. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just, it wasn't what I was used to. They used me in their version of a Sunday school class. They used me as somebody who was a guest. They used me as an example of a lost soul. It was very awkward. And I was like, oh, this is not good. I'm in Utah. I live in New England. It's not like that here. No. I felt very uncomfortable because guess what? My friend drove me there. I didn't have a car. I was visiting my friend in Utah. I did not have any way to leave. It was quite scary. And I was hurt because I was like, how dare you do that? That's really rude. But I didn't, because I was scared. I was in this environment that I've never been around people who were using religion in a way I've never experienced. It was very bizarre. When they had their service, each person would walk up and go up to the podium and like tell their personal story and just sob. I guess that's called giving your testimonial. It's just very bizarre. So here you have all these perfectly nice, polite people, and then they do this thing that seems to me crazy because they're just like crying, and now I'm like awkward because this is not what I'm used to. Now, I don't want to judge it. It was just scary for me. It was scary for me. And then when I went to the Sunday school class, hi, Maddo, how are you? When I went to the Sunday school class, they used me as an example of a lost soul. Why? Because apparently in that particular Mormon church, how are you doing, Maddo? Mado, I don't know how to say your name. Apparently in that Mormon church, if you do not pray to their version of the Pope or whatever it was, they didn't believe that you could pray on your own and that you were lost. And yeah, you could be influenced by bad things. So they used me as an example of a lost soul and what you shouldn't do. So here you had these very nice, polite people that looked like little Stepford wives, even the teenage girls. Everybody was dressed to the nines. And in New England, I mean, these are customs and different. Hi, how are you? Well, that's good. Hey, Mado, do you have ADHD or autism? Or do you know somebody who has ADHD or autism? I know, I agree with you, Ego. I agree with you. It's just very interesting to me that you can have such drastic differences in the interpretation of the Bible and the interpretation of what they think Jesus is or what the role of the church is. And, oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mado. I appreciate that. Yay. Yeah, if you, Mado, just to let you know, and if anybody is here is new, because it doesn't show me who is here, I don't think. I can just see that there's a few people here. What time are we at? And don't feel like you guys have to stay. You can leave whenever you want. I talk all night. I don't care. I don't know where I have to be. I should probably leave at some point, though. What do you guys think of the day and the time? Is this an okay, like Thursdays at 3:30? Is that okay? Do you guys like that? Is that okay? I mean, that works for me, but I can change it. I'm flexible. So I am on Eastern Standard Time in the US. So here, right now, what's it, 6:05? Yeah. So I can't believe we've been on here for over 2 hours, guys. Wow. Okay. Okay. Ego Shredder, I forget, are you from England? Now, Alan here. Okay. Whatever you guys like. I mean, I know that people come in from all different countries. You really deserve support because you will... Do you know, Mado, you're the second person to say that to me. And what made you say that? Thank you very much, Mado. I hope I do. I'm just a human who is flawed and has struggled with things by myself. And I'm tired of feeling alone. And I didn't think anybody was ever going to watch any of my videos. And then I met Genevieve, and then she interviewed me in one of her lives. I have it on my channel. You guys can watch it whenever. Flown by and not a dull moment. I can't. Thank you very much. I can talk for hours. I don't care. What do we come here to talk about? Did I even talk about the biology of the brain yet? I don't think I did. Also didn't talk to you yet about, what was the thing? There was something that was like triggering for me in this magazine that I read. And it had to do with this article. I'm just going to pop in this, since we were supposed to talk about ADHD today. There's no rules. There's no rules, whatever works for you. So this is the article. It's pretty much in the beginning of the magazine. It looks backwards on my end. Hopefully it's not on yours. What is ADHD? So it's this magazine, if there's anyone here that wasn't here previously. I'm an adult with ADHD. I don't know. I think you guys are the ones that have been here the whole time. Let's see. There was something on here that I got triggered by. Oh, so they're moving away from the term symptoms when they're talking about ADHD or autism, and moving towards the word traits. I have conflicting feelings about this, and I actually initially I just got upset about it because I'm like, you can't say it's not symptoms because I have ADHD and I get symptoms. And for me, symptoms is something physical, like if you have a headache, if you're spacing out, that's a physical symptom, right? If I'm not like with it and I can't think straight and I'm groggy, That's a physical symptom. Like being dizzy is a physical symptom, you know? I can see where some of the challenges of autism wouldn't necessarily be considered a symptom. I just kind of feel, and somebody mentioned that in another thing that I spent a good part of the last 2 days just consuming autism content. Part of it is because I'm glad they're changing it to identity ego. I feel like that's what a lot of the neurodivergent people want. And that's how I feel. And honestly, I feel like you guys should be able to feel any way you want. And you have that right. And I'm never going to judge you. I'm never going to tell you how to feel about it. If you have autism, you have the right to feel however you want because you have it, because you were born with it, because you went through all of the shit you had to go through growing up, being bullied and all that crap you got in trouble for, and the miscommunications at work and feeling like a weirdo and feeling like a failure and feeling like something's wrong with you. You went through enough shit. You don't need anyone telling you how you should or shouldn't feel about anything because you own it. It's yours. It's part of who you are. And sorry, I got all animated, but I get passionate about that because if we're talking about a neurodevelopmental condition and it's literally how the circuitry forms in your brain differently, physically differently than the neurotypical person. It's your brain is different. You can't, with ADHD, there's medication you can take that helps. ADHD medication for me helps. Basically, my time blindness is not as bad. I'm a little bit more with it, but it doesn't heal the disorganized thinking. It doesn't heal the executive functioning issues. It doesn't heal because it's how your brain is set up, right? It's the brain you're working with. Let's see. Your face is like the moon. Your hair. Wow. I'm sorry if you're looking for somebody. I am married, but I get all awkward when I get complimented. I don't know what to do, and so I'm sorry if I never know how to react. And yeah, because I want to be honest. I want people to know where I stand. I feel like it's rude for me. It's weird. Like any of you who know Jen, well, Jen's kind of single, so she can do what she wants, right? But I've been in a relationship for 13 years. And to me, even though we're not, married, we don't have the license. That's just because, we just haven't gone down the courthouse and do it. We just haven't hired people to have a formal wedding. Why? Because it costs too freaking much. It can cost like 10 grand. And I'm struggling with my neurodivergence. And I was just out of work for 4 months. I can't afford a wedding, Yeah, Jen's funny. She's so funny. What's funny about her? She jokes that she's not everybody's cup of tea, and I could see why. If anybody is rude to her, she just lays into them, and she doesn't take it, and she'll curse them out, and she'll kick them out. Or she'll be like, don't kick them out, guys. We're going to put them in timeout, and we're going to let them learn. But yeah, sometimes it's it's so funny. Yeah. What was I talking about? Somebody complimented me and I say thank you. Yeah, if we're talking about social rules and not knowing how to act in different situations. So Mado, are you saying that I believe all people, don't all of us have roots? Doesn't the birth of humanity from the Middle East? So is that a pound? A pound, 29.50. So a pound is similar to $1. I don't know the conversion. So would that be similar to $30? Here, I don't know how much it would be if you went to a courthouse. I know that there's a place where you can get married in a park, and it's relatively inexpensive, but This is my second marriage, and I don't want to do the same thing. Because, yeah. Yeah. Marriages cost money. They cost money. And I would love, you guys want to know what I want to do when we do get married? I want to design my own dress. Yeah, I don't know how I'm going to do it. Before I like stitched pink flowers in the dress I had before, but I want, oh yeah, because I'm constantly going like this. I'm like, that's why I got the 11 wrinkles, because I'm like concentrating all the time. It looks like I got the mean face. What was I going to say? Oh, have you guys seen those wedding dresses? Like the dresses at the bottom, they're painted with these crazy colors. So I've seen one that goes purple, red, orange, yellow. And it looks like a sunset. Very much like fire. And yeah, I want to have like bright colors. Not traditional. I just want to have bright, bright colors. My ex-wife designed her own. Well, good. I'm sorry that you're divorced. I'm sorry about that. I don't know your situation, and you don't have to share. It's personal. So if I can find a way to paint it. Also, another special interest of mine is gemstones. And at one point during my previous life, I was actually going to start my own business. It's been a while, but I make jewelry. I did wire wrapping pendants out of gemstones, and I would be beaded necklaces and all of these different things. Are you talking about my eye color? The ring light is like there. I have like brown eyes, and some people have brown eyes and it's like a reddish brown, and mine is like, has some hazel in there. So it's kind of like green and rust colored. I don't know what I was going to talk about. Something about the wedding dress. I was thinking, you know what? We might just rent a boat. We might rent a boat and have some people come over. And I was thinking it might be funny to get in the boat and like go out in the lake near my house and just go around and like play music and me be in my dress and go, woo! And not have a formal wedding and just be fun. I don't know. What was I going to say? Do you want me to tell you guys the difference in our brains? Oh, cool. Yes, I can do that. Now, Hakon, I can do some wire wrapping. There's another kind I actually took a class on. It's like more formal looking, and it's very beautiful, very professional. And that's really hard. That's the one where you get like the square shape wire, and they're small, and you put like a bunch of them in a row, right? And then you take like a little wire and so it kind of is long. And of course they're very skinny. And then you sit the stone, and ideally it's an oval shaped cabochon, and you wrap it around, and then you kind of peel the layers, and you kind of have it hug the stone. And then at the top you do all these swirls, and it looks really pretty. And that's very hard to do. I used to be into, there's a Ren fair. It's kind of far, but it's in my state. I've gone a few times. They used to have the big cat show. They don't have that anymore. But yeah, I actually have a full Renaissance costume, and I made my own circlet out of like copper wire. And I'll show that to you guys sometime if you want. Yeah. I don't remember why I got into talking about that. I was going to have my own business doing that. And then I ended up, a lot of changes happened all of a sudden that I didn't see coming. And so I still have all those supplies, and eventually someday, and I do like basic stuff like these I've made. They're just strung. And this is one I've actually had for years, and some of the beads broke. So I added, I don't know if you can see that. This is, oh, you can kind of see the colors. Here, let's put some white behind it. So this purple stone that has like some swirls of green and purple, that is fluorite. And this is some rose quartz. It looks white. But yeah, that's that. And this is some chip beads. This is citrine. I used some orange. I didn't wear like my jewelry. I have some other stuff somewhere. I don't know. Thank you. Do you guys want me to tell you about the brain? I am an ADHD cliche. This topic. Oh my God. Squirrel, shiny, sparkly, gemstones. Woo! Yeah. Beauty, Marilyn Monroe, science, stars, chemistry, gemstones. Gemstones are cool. You know why gemstones are cool? Because they're science and they're nature and they're beauty. And it's all in one thing. Mado, you are way too complimentary, but thank you very much. You know what, Mado? You, if you're not already, you should be a poet. You should be a poet. You should be a professional poet and write poetry, and people will buy it because you're very good. So you should consider that if you haven't already. That's an idea for you. So I put some videos on my community tab. I don't know if any of you guys have seen it. I knew that I was probably going to mention the brain. I was thinking that one of the things we could do if you guys are interested is, because we're talking about neurodivergence, and people just, especially with ADHD, they think it's like in your head, or that you ate junk food or whatever, it's bad parenting, and they still think all of these things, and it's not true. Thank you, Ellen! But I will say it because I will forget. So, do any of you guys know how, now I don't know, if I wasn't like using my phone, I could just go look on there because that's where I would look. I don't know the difference between the autistic brain and the neurotypical brain. I know that there are. I have read that, and Genevieve had told me that, and she didn't remember what it was either. So I can definitely research that for you guys. So I do not know the physical differences of the autistic brain versus a neurotypical average brain, neurodevelopmental brain. I do know the difference between the ADHD neurodevelopmental brain. So your neurodevelopmental, if anybody's new here, I see there's 6 people. Hello, if anybody's new here, I'll just say it really quick. My name is Sherry. My channel is called Lady Phoenix. Phoenix is a spirit animal that I am still learning lessons from. So that's why that's there. And I struggle with ADHD, possibly autism, and I've been dealing with a lot of struggles my whole life, and I'm tired of feeling alone. And I'll tell you, it has been feeling like Sisyphus. I feel like that dude that's pushing the boulder up the mountain, and I keep making progress, and then I let go, and the boulder squashes me, and then I have to start all over again. And damn it, sorry for swearing, it's hard. And I'm sick of being ashamed, and I'm sick of doing all of this work by myself. So I thought, you know what? I cannot be the only one. I know they have a lot of new information, and I know that kids and younger adults get this information. And you know what? I had to struggle with different tips and tricks, like the types of charts that I've used in the past, different kinds of diets, all of these different things that I've tried. I thought, yeah, right? I feel like I'm tired of what, and this is going to sound like a slam to neurotypical people, which basically, if you're new here, if you're not used to this language, it's just fancy talk for, it's just clinical language, neurotypical, meaning the normal nervous system, the normal average person. The average person, as they grow from when you're born and in your child, and your nervous system and your brain develops a very specific way. And you have specific pathways that go to different parts of your brain. If you have ADHD, your brain is very different. Me too, Håkon. I'm tired of that. I'm tired of that bullshit, and I'm tired. I have like there's a new person at my job who, okay, I don't want to say this in case they watch this. And it's nothing against them. They just don't know. They don't know. They don't know these things. She will argue with me. she mentioned like some customer, I don't even know how it came up. Like, I'm very fortunate that I work in this store, that I work in an environment that I can disclose. And part of it's like, hey, I'm a cashier. So I don't give a bleep what they think of me. I'm just a cashier and I could leave and go get a job somewhere else. I don't care at this point. I'm like, I'm too old for this. I'm too old to feel scared of my boss. And I was until I had my burnout. And now I'm like, I'm done. I'm done. I'm tired of having like a freaking anxiety attack every time I get ready for work, because my whole entire life I cannot be on time. And it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more you freak out about it, the more you're afraid about it, the more they pull you into an office. That we've already talked about this. And it's like, dude, I explained what I have to you. I told him I have ADHD. I actually explained to him what time blindness is, technically. And he gave me some accommodations, but, and I've seen this with other people, they won't budge on the timeliness. And I get that. I get it. I come across as neurotypical. I look like a regular person. I mask. I've been like, I'm a super masker. Like, I didn't even know I mask, but I've always been very, very verbal and social in certain ways, because I wanted to be accepted. I think maybe part of it is because I was kind of like this geeky, smart kid, and I loved to talk to my dad, and I loved to learn things. And I wasn't accepted by the other kids, and I didn't know why. And I had a lot of shame, and I was isolated. So by the time I actually learned how to like connect with other people, it's like, I really do want to connect with people, you know? And I think it's important. I just, you know, I just need to see the size of your front. What? No. Sorry, Mato. I don't have, whoever wants to be mods, let me know, and I'll make you guys mods. I'm not going to kick you out, Mato, because you are very nice and you're very complimentary. Yeah, no, it's not going to happen. This is not what this channel is for. I'm just letting you know now. I'm not going to be rude. This channel is to help people. And I like to feel good about myself just like the next girl. I don't mind compliments, but I'm just going to be blatant about it. I'm not going to sexualize myself here. We're here to talk about neurodivergence. I don't want to be mean. I feel like I'm mean, but I'm just going to set a boundary. And I'm grateful if anybody is complimentary and is nice to me and wants to give me a compliment. I appreciate that. I never want to be rude, because we're all human and we all have feelings, you know? Yeah, I felt like that was rude. Thank you. If you do. Yeah, I'm just a person. Yeah. And I'm 50. Maybe in my 20s, you know? Oh, I almost modeled once. I don't know if I'll dig those pictures out for you guys sometime soon. You guys would not recognize me. Do you remember the 80s and the 90s? Do you remember Roxette? Do you guys remember? I think her name was Marie. And, oh, she passed away young because she had a stroke. I was so sad. It was a Swedish band that, Roxette. I loved them. Oh my God. When I was 14, 15, I was obsessed. I was so obsessed. Hi, Trevor. How are you? I loved that band, Roxette. They were awesome. Okay, I'm just checking the time right now. I can talk to you guys all night as long as my phone doesn't die. And the only downside is with this particular phone, for me to have like a microphone on, I'm going to have to get like a Bluetooth mic. I have to actually, this is the only mic I have right now, is in these like earbuds. So I have to have it plugged in. And I don't have one of those little, yeah, she was amazing, right? I don't have one of those little like jacks in the phone for that particular plug. This one doesn't have it. So there's an actual, let me take it out to show you. Hold on. I'm not going to do it. It's stuck. So there's an adapter. It actually has to plug in where the chart. So can you hear me better now? Is that plugged in all the way? There we go. Can you guys hear me okay? So, what was I saying? I'm spacing. Forgive me. Talking about the phone jack. Yeah, I have this adapter, so it's got to go in where the charger goes. So I can't have the phone being charged. Well, luckily, we are at 48%. I don't know how long you guys want to be on here. What else was I was going to talk about the brain. I don't smoke weed. I can't smoke weed. Well, part of it is that my particular neurodivergence, my anatomy, my body is like sensitive to like, I can't drink. I don't know why. I think part of it's my heritage because I heard that people who have red hair, and we have red hair genes in my family. We have Irish and Scottish and English. And I have the same, and my dad has some of this too. Like certain medications don't work. And I've heard this about people, and I'm not a redhead, but I was really surprised. Sorry, I'm like getting dehydrated. Let me get my water. I'm starting to space. So what should we talk about? Do you guys want to go? Do you want to go have dinner? World War IV? Oh, there has been no fights. No fights. This gentleman here, there was a gentleman who was being sweet and flirty, and then he wanted me to show my body, and I told him no. So I nicely, politely set a boundary that won't happen on this channel. And I'm not trying to be rude, but that's from a man. And I'm in a relationship. And I'm old, and I don't feel like being flirty. I love you guys. We're all, we all go through things. And we're here to talk about neurodivergence. So, yeah, we didn't put him in timeout, but we just let him know the boundary. You used to be a lion and you're saying what you want. Well, you can say what you want, but I can also get rid of you. So, wow, I sound like Jen. And I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just setting the rules. I have very few rules on this channel. And one is to be respectful. That's it. Just be respectful. And if you want to talk to me about my chest, that's not respectful. I'm giving you a chance. So if you go there again, you can do it if you want. You can do whatever you want. But I can also boot you out. I don't want to, but that's up to you. We're not here for that. We're not here for that. We're here to talk about the brain. So I'm going to say it because I'm going to forget because I keep coming back to it. Oh, why did I bring up weed? The few times I do smoke weed, I don't know if it's my ADHD brain. Something specific to me, I get stupid. My friends come over once, last year, and I had a little bit, just, because I used to smoke when I was younger. But I kept over and over again saying the same sentence and then forgetting what I was talking about and then starting again and saying I'll just say the same thing over and over and over again. I think I do that when I'm tired too. So that was that. So the difference in the brain of somebody who has ADHD. I don't know if any of you guys seen the videos. You don't have to worry. I just put them there for fun. Your frontal lobe. I'm going to tell you something that's a little depressing. Yeah, a little bit's not bad. It just has an unfortunate side effect to me. And I don't have a nice way to say this. It makes me dumb. And I'm not dumb. So I get kind of stressed out about that. It makes me not be able to keep. And I think that's my ADHD. I don't know. It just jacks it up. So I can't think straight at all. And then I'm like, whoa, I don't like this. Because then I can't even hold a conversation. And that defeats the purpose of relaxing, right? You can't even hold a conversation. And it's like, oh, well, maybe I can have a little wine, maybe, and some spritzer, but not much. Shall I actually try to say the differences in the brain? My brain is doing it right now. The 4 areas of your brain that are different if you have ADHD. Your frontal lobe, they call frontal cortex. So the difference in that part of your brain is it's actually a little smaller. I recently found out. We're smart. We're just as smart as everyone else. This part of your brain has to do not so much with intelligence and information. This part of your brain has to do with attention. It has to do a little bit with personality. It has to do with you being able to stop your impulsivity, and executive functioning. So executive functioning is huge. So ADHD, which is called attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, is technically not what ADHD is. But because they have fought so hard to get laws to protect people with ADHD, they cannot change the name for legal reasons. That's what I've heard. I can't remember if I was told that in the ADHD group I was in. But yeah, the first week we went over the anatomy, and I remember her talking about that. This part is smaller. Also, did you know that, you know how they say that a brain doesn't stop developing until you're in your mid-20s? So the neurotypical brain is still developing until you're in your 20s. That's why kids make not smart decisions sometimes. Sometimes they use it as an excuse. But recently found out neurodivergent brains, at least ADHD brains, they're still developing until their 30s. And they develop slower. I don't know if it was a day this week, and I don't know if it's in the, I don't think it's in this magazine. But they were saying that for kids, now that they know that, they're telling parents not to expect the same from a child of that their age is, because developmentally they are a little bit younger than their age. So because their brain is developing slower than the neurotypical brain. So it just takes a little bit longer. So that's why if you were in school and you had ADHD and you felt a little bit behind the other students, like academically in some ways, that might be why. So executive functioning is huge, and I'll probably do a live just on that, just because executive functioning is what ADHD is mostly. ADHD is an executive functioning disorder. So we can talk about that too, because some of you, if you're new to that, you might not know what that is, and it sounds fancy, and I'll tell you what that is, and it's very important. So distraction and all the other stuff is a symptom, basically, of having poor executive functioning. Yeah, me too, Hakan. I struggled, and it was weird. It was really weird because they said, "But you're smart," because I was really smart. So when I was a little girl, I grew up in New Jersey, but my family wasn't from there. My dad got transferred there when I was a baby, and we lived there till I was 14. And then we moved back home to Mass, where my family is. So my early years, I lived in New Jersey, and I don't know if the school systems are different, but they wanted to put me in a higher level classes because of how smart I am. But then somewhere around 5th grade, things crashed because I feel like I instinctively knew answers. I didn't have to think them out. So they built these study skills and these kinds of thinking skills for them to come to answers, and I just knew them. And then when they got to a certain age where they go into the next thing, that's when I crashed and I got all zeros, somewhere around the 5th grade, and I had to get tutors. And I have difficulty, and still to this day, I don't have any difficulty with comprehension. And I don't read a whole lot of books. I'll read stuff online, but not necessarily books. But my reading is very, very slow. If it's like a literature book and it's a story and it's engaging and the person's writing it how I would speak, then I just absorb it, right? But I don't know what you're talking about, Mado. I don't know what you're talking about. So yeah, our brains can think differently. So I want to say that a lot of neurodivergent people were very gifted kids in some way or another. I mean, I know that there's a frustration. I have heard that there is a stereotype, you know, the savant stereotype for autism. And that's one of the things that you shouldn't say to an autistic person. What's your superpower? What's your gift? Because not like, I hear that there are people that are like Rain Man, but isn't that like, and you guys who are autistic and know more about autism can tell me, isn't that like not the norm? Isn't that like a small percentage that have like a savant, like super brain skill? Like I never saw the movie, but there's a scene where like a thing of matches, what do you call it? Toothpicks fall on the floor like a pile, and he knew the exact number. But apparently some people, a few people who have autism have that, but that's not, you know, most people don't. But a lot of people who are neurodivergent are very gifted in some area. You know, not necessarily, but yeah. You know what I'm going to do here? Let's see. I'm going to put you in timeout. Okay. I don't know what he's talking about. I put him in timeout for 10 minutes. I know he's being weird. Sorry, I'm not trying to be rude, but you're being weird. And I don't know if it's a cultural thing, like a misunderstanding because of language. I don't know. And I'm tired of having to try to figure it out, honestly, because I want to talk about neurodivergent stuff. I was good at math, Hawkhorn, up to a point. Like, it's funny because as soon as they teach you to do it, boom, I do it. Fine. Right? But then every time we'd move on to the next thing, I would forget, like for algebra. And if by the time the quarter came, I wouldn't remember all of the different things we learned. So then I would fail. But if you tell me how to do formula and then you give me homework, I'll do it all. It'll be fine. And geometry is a funny subject because some people are good at it and some people are not. And the people who are not, it doesn't mean they're not smart. And it's funny because when they give you those pictures, you know, those pictures with the shape, and you have to figure out, like, if you were to fold it up, what it would be. I could visually do that. I could see the image, lift it up in my head, and figure out what it was. You know? It's weird, Sherry. I love and understand astrophysics, but I don't get maths. Math, it's funny. Sometimes I'm good at it and sometimes I'm hard. Now, when you get into the like fractions of fractions of fractions, and when I was in nursing school, we had to learn some weird math because depending on what kind of, okay, so if you're a nurse, is anybody here in the medical field? Do you already know about this? So I'm not going to get into it because I'll just bore you. But let's say a nurse has a patient. When I worked at the supermarket, the kids working alongside of me were at uni and could not do mental arithmetic. So they kept asking me to work out the change for, interesting. So you could do it in your head. I could, the reason why I had trouble with numbers in my head is for some reason for me and my particular flavor of neurodivergence, I can't visually hold the number. So I could put the number in my head and visually see it and then see the number. And like, let's say I was doing division or subtraction or addition or whatever. As soon as I like added and like start to carry over, I forget what the other things are and I can't hold it in my memory. And I can't visually hold it there. I don't know why. I just can't. I have to see it on paper. Hi, Mask Man. How are you? So history, math. Oh, so nobody ever thought to see if I had a learning disability. Like people thought I was being difficult, you know. They might think that, Mask Man, did you just pop in? We can tell you this is, we're talking about ADHD and autism. And we're talking about how our brains work differently and how sometimes because we're neurodivergent, our nervous system and our brains kind of set up slightly different. some things will be challenging for us. And then a lot of us growing up we're all different from each other. We're not all alike, but we'd have gifts, you know, and it was kind of tricky. And there's emotional like baggage from growing up, or you're getting made fun of, or you're in trouble all the time because you can't do the simple stuff. You can't understand the social rules of what the teacher is expecting of you. And yet something that is super hard for everyone is just like common sense to you. So if you're referring as far as arrogance, I'm not sure if there's anything I missed, but if you just popped in when we're talking about what we're gifted at, if it comes across as bragging, we're not. We're just talking about that. Yeah. As in divisions, times, addition, maze, mathematics, algorithms. Wait, which one of you was good at math and which one wasn't? Now I'm getting confused. Sorry, I'm having a hard time keeping track. I don't know what Mask Man was talking about. Mask Man, I'm sorry. I'm not sure what you were talking about. Hopefully you're not the other dude that just left and I don't even know if he left because I can't see who's in. What are you talking about? Okay, he's gone. Goodbye. I mean, honestly, I knew I was going to deal with bots, and I knew I was going to deal with people who were going to come in and be rude. Let me tell you, if this was real life and somebody was going to try to play grab ass with me, I'd punch him. I'm a nice lady. But piss me off. I can stand up for myself. I'm not here to show my boobs. There's a million other women out there. Go somewhere else. Go to that other website. We're talking about the brain. I think the brain's more interesting. So the frontal lobes are smaller. And that's why you have poor impulse control, because that's there. And also personality. Have you guys ever heard, we learned about this in science, and we also learned about it in nursing school. There is this case, I think it was like the 1800s. How did he come back? Did I not kick him out? Well, I put him away. I think it deleted the message, but it didn't get rid of him. But I hid him, so now we don't have to listen to him. I need to get you guys to be mods. I don't know how to do it. Do you guys know how to add a moderator? I don't know. I'm afraid to like touch any of these little icons that I see on my screen. I'll have to like text Genevieve and ask her how to do it. Guys, I've been here for 3 hours. Are you guys getting bored yet? Frontal lobe is smaller. Frontal lobe. Frontal cortex. Limbic system, your emotional regulation. Basal ganglia. It's like deeper inside. And I can't remember what that does. I think that there's some emotional regulation in there, but it's also like connections. So the connections to different parts. Yeah, I feel like, well, it goes quick for me because I have time blindness. So if you guys are bored, let me know. But I'll tell you what, that's why I think 3:30 is a good time. Because I am not a morning person. Luckily, my man, he gets bored with this stuff, so he's just doing his own thing, and that's fine. Eventually, if he comes up, I will. I've been in here a while, so I don't know how much longer I'll stay on. But yeah, probably soon I'll leave. I don't usually stay on this long, but I'm having fun. So the basal ganglia has connections to other parts of your brain, and so yeah, when I was younger and I first learned about ADHD, I knew that there were differences in the frontal lobe. You always heard about that because that's where attention is. That's where your focus is. And I joined this ADHD group I think it was like 2 years ago. It was through my healthcare. It was through the mental health department. So you go through your counselor if you're in counseling, and they would contact the people who ran this, and you get to be put on a waiting list if you have ADHD. So I was on the waiting list. I had to wait for a cycle, like a month or two, and then I was in it. And it was 6 weeks. I know that some of you have heard this multiple times. I apologize if you've been following me for a little while and already heard about this. But each week we talked about a different aspect of ADHD. So we could learn all the different things it does to us besides not paying attention. The first week we did the anatomy. And I think that is so important. And I want to learn more about this. Because I think if we could show pictures or diagrams of how they're different, people won't be able to deny it. Let me know when you want me to turn this off, because I've been on for a while. I let them know that when you come up that I might be turning this off. Babes. Babes. Huh? Do you need me to shut this down? Well, let me know if I'm being too loud or what you... Yeah. So this is the beautiful thing about relationships. He's an Aquarius. He is very accepting and understanding of me. But at the same time, I'm accepting of him not being interested in this, and that's fine. He hears it enough living with me. So he doesn't need to hear more of it. Let's see. Did I miss anything? Okay. I still have 5 people, so that's pretty good. So... Let's see. So the first week we talked about the anatomy of the brain for a neurodivergent person whose neurodivergence is an ADHD brain, and how it's physically different from the neurotypical brain, and also how it functions different from the neurotypical brain. So I knew about this going in, the frontal lobe. I didn't know about these other areas. And she got into it a little bit, and I watched one of the videos I put in my comment section, the one that's from, I don't know if it's from Attitude, that's an organization. They do a publication about ADHD. If anybody here has ADHD, I do like that organization. I think they have a lot of good articles on their website. It's called Attitude. I think that's the one that did that video. ADD, like ADD, and like Attitude, but it's with ADHD. And I don't know if they added the H since they changed it. But yeah, that particular video doesn't have any sound, and periodically it has like a weird sound. So it's not really, it's weird. But I think that's the one that we used when she was going over the different parts of the brain. So I found out that not only is this not working as well, and we do know that there's dopamine deficiency. And some people say it's not a lack of dopamine, but it's, you know, kind of like when you have depression and your brain just like sucks it back up. So brief A&P, 2 synapses in your brain. So they're like different brain cells. And this is where they meet. And it's just like an electrical current. Things get like, you know, but these synapses transfer the brain chemicals from one to the other. Sometimes people with depression or other things, they have the right amount, but after they transfer that chemical over and that message goes, there's some kind of hanging around, and sometimes they just get rid of it quicker, and then we're deficient, right? So we're low dopamine. We're low dopamine. Now, how does that affect us? Dopamine is the reward chemical, but it's also kind of the gas that you need to pay attention. It's like a fuel that you need. Like if your car doesn't have fuel, you're not really going anywhere. So we can't really make ourselves pay attention if we don't have the fuel to do the thing. You know what I mean? So it's very interesting. I've seen some brain scans, right? And if I can find an animation, that'd be even better. But I saw like the 2 scans of the 2 brains. So one's like neurotypical, like an average person, and the other one has ADHD. And it showed like the parts that were lit up shows the electrical, the different activity in the blood flow, whatever. And they hooked 2 different people up to these different sensors. And they had them do like a regular boring task, and then they would compare the images between the neurotypical person and the ADHD person and how they perform and what they had difficulty with and what was going on in their brain. And then they did the same thing with an activity that you have to pay, it's hard to pay attention to, right? And to see the differences in the brain. So in the first brain scan, when you had the neurotypical person and the neurodivergent ADHD person, the part where the frontal lobes are, which I pretty much assume would happen, it's a little dimmer here. So if the bright colors are lit up, that's showing on the brain scan. That represents blood flow and activity. And that's what you want. I mean, that was the part of the brain that they were using for whatever that activity was. But it wasn't a hard one. And it wasn't stressful. So even at like rest doing basic stuff, the ADHD brain in that aspect in the frontal lobes was dimmer. Like there wasn't as much going on. It was harder for them. They were deficient, right? And it wasn't doing its thing. Now you add a challenging task. ADHD brain, interesting fact. And this is true for me. If you get me stressed out enough, my brain shuts off. It literally shuts off. I can't explain it. It makes me feel crazy. I call it a mousetrap. If I get frustrated enough, if I feel like I'm approaching a meltdown, if I start getting anxiety, done. And I can't, and then I'm like, brain melt. I can't think. And I don't know why. It turns out the second part of the test, they took the two brains. They had them do this challenging, stressful task or whatever, hard to pay attention to. They're like, you could do it if you tried. No. The neurotypical brain now was struggling, like they're human. So the frontal lobe was diminished somehow because it was struggling. The ADHD brain, gone. Shut off. Different brains, different systems work differently. You can't always do it because you're told to. You can't do it anyway. Other people, now, yeah, regular people get stressed out. Regular people have trouble concentrating when they're stressed out, when you're overwhelmed, when you're burned out. 3 hours. I don't even know, Ego. I didn't know how it became 3 hours. I'm shocked. I'm psyched. I can't wait to see the hours on my channel, because my channel's been building very slowly, but I'm okay with that because I know that when people start businesses, they always say it's better if a business, so I'm thinking it's the same thing for YouTube, it's better if it doesn't take off right away because there's a learning curve, especially if you're new to having a business. There always is so much more that goes into running a new venture. And for me, I'm learning how to edit videos. I'm learning how to develop a schedule, which is really hard for me because it's part of what I have. So some groups of people lack the frontal cortex area. Oh, really? They don't have it? Ego, do tell. Interesting. Oh, I remember what I was going to tell you guys. Have you heard of, what was his name? Oh, I can't remember his name. There was a guy who was, I think he worked on like the railroad. Like, I think he was like a laborer that was like building the railroad tracks or something. Phineas Gage. Have you guys heard of Phineas Gage? Phineas Gage was, it was either the 1800s or the 1900s. So this is very interesting because this part of your brain also has something to do with personality. So it's attention span. Yeah, you heard about him? So they'll talk about it in psychology, and they also talk about it in anatomy when you're learning about the anatomy of the brain because it's nuts. It's nuts. This guy had an accident. So before he had he had a brain injury, and it's very interesting how his personality did a 180. It was completely opposite. So before he had his accident, he was very studious. People who knew him, that worked with him, said that he was mild-mannered. He was always very polite. I don't remember if he was shy, but he was very, very respectful. And he was very responsible. He never drank. I can't remember if he was like a churchgoer, but you'd think the guy was a saint. And then he had an accident where some kind of metal rod or bar went flying through his head. I don't know if it came like this. Hey babe, do you remember, like, you don't have to speak out loud. Do you remember Phineas Gage? Like, how did the metal rod pierce? He's like, I don't know. We'll look it up. We'll look it up. So yeah, there was like a bar, and basically it pierced, like, he was able to survive. They removed it, and even in that early point in history, they were able to do the surgery and he survived. But it actually took out a chunk of his frontal cortex. So they said after, he was a completely different person. He was a braggart. He was swearing. He was an alcoholic. He was violent. He just completely changed. That just really goes to show we take our brain for granted. You know, it does so much, especially this part with executive functioning is a huge thing. And maybe sometime soon we should do a live just on that, because both ADHD, which is an executive functioning developmental disorder, but people with autism struggle with it as well. It might be different for each of you. Maybe it might be different in how much it affects you. And I think it'd be really interesting to look at the differences of an autistic brain versus a neurotypical brain. So yeah, and that first week when we went over the anatomy of the brain, so you have this, and I just know it will take me forever to get into the executive functioning. So that's why it's really interesting. I'll just say it affects everything. It affects you planning your time, organizing, making lists, being able to follow through, being able to get up and be out on time, being able to make your breakfast without thinking the steps in your head, even though like other people can do things automatically. And sometimes stuff that even if we have habits or rituals, we do some things automatically, but not as much as neurotypical people do. And that's actually really interesting. I found out there's a part in the brain in the back that has these, I think it's in the back, that actually forms habits. I recently saw, I don't know if it was from a video on YouTube or an article I read, but they were talking about autistic people and that they are not able to form habits. No. It was Ella Purple. I think it might have been her. She does autism content. It might have been her. And I was really surprised because I know that ADHD has that. And I know it has to do with executive functioning too. But I don't know a whole lot about the brain and autism yet. But I can't wait to learn. Yeah, there's a part of your brain too that has very special, let's see, I've heard of party goers, extroverts having brain injury and turning into savants. Yeah, I was just talking to my mom about this. It's crazy. So there were these two different women, you know, two different times. I've heard this woman's story and it was really interesting, and another time, and both of them, two totally different stories, two different women. Both of them were like women who had stroke. Well, this one did. I watched a TED Talk on her. I don't remember her name. You might be able to find it. She was a neuroscientist. So she was a neurologist or neuroscientist. She worked on brain health. And she had one of these personalities that's just the facts, man. Not like overly empathetic. She was very clinical. She didn't believe anything if it wasn't proven. Very factual, very Spock. Yeah. And she was a scientist. And she had a stroke. And she realized while she was having a stroke that it was happening. And to herself, she thought, this is really interesting, because she went to go pick up the phone to call somebody and she couldn't, the words were all jumbled and she couldn't speak. And I'm like, this is terrifying. But she thought it was interesting. And then when it was said and done and she luckily survived it, her brain had changed. She So if there are people who don't know a whole lot about like strokes or heart attacks or anything. So stroke is, there's another word for it. And it's not cardiovascular event. It's, I forget what they call it, something else event that when, it's basically like a heart attack, but in your brain. So you get a blood clot. That's a stroke. And then the blood flow can't go to a specific area of your brain. I'll block that light. And so parts of it die. And then if you don't get that person to get help soon enough to get the blood clot, it's permanent. And that can cause seizures and all kinds of paralyzed and all kinds of, it's horrible. So yeah, brain's crazy. Oh, habits. There's a part of your brain, and I have to find out where I heard this. That's another reason why I have to put sources on everything I do, because I don't remember where I found it. There's some very, very special types of neurons. So neuron is the, what do they call? When you're taking anatomy and you're learning about different systems in the body or different organs, so it's like, what is the functional cell, the star, if you will, of a specific organ, right? Neurodivergents do have habits like where this is true, but I'm wondering if you do that because you can't do things automatically and then that gives you comfort. Maybe. I don't know. So, like I said, I didn't end up watching that video, so I don't know if that's true or not. I do, however, know that it is very hard for ADHD people, a lot of them. I know that's different for everybody, but it's very hard to form routines, and part of it has to do with working memory, which I think kind of goes hand in hand with executive functioning, which is planning. And it's like too much input going in and you can't sort it, right? You can't prioritize things. You get the paralyzed when you have like all this list of things to do and it all seems important. That's executive functioning. When you're like, I don't know where to start, that's executive functioning. You can't plan your time, you don't know, you can't prioritize, that's executive functioning. And poor working memory. Working memory is the memory of what you're doing while you're doing stuff. So it's kind of like short-term memory. It's not like stuff when you were young. It's not other things. It's like you walking in the other room and forgetting why you went in there, which happens to everybody sometimes, but happens to ADHD people a lot more and a lot more often. So yeah, I guess there are these very special neurons in your brain that are responsible for forming habits. Because, and I did learn this. This wasn't from a YouTuber. This is something I looked up. And the whole purpose of that part of your brain with those special neurons, I even think they called them like habit neurons or something. I can't remember. The shape of them is a little different. And the reason why it's important is because for you to keep continually trying to remember when you're getting ready for work, all the different steps, right? Even if you try to prepare the night before and you get your lunch all set up and it's in the fridge and you just take it and go, or you set up your outfit the night before, whatever your pattern, your types of, but you still are thinking more about it if you have ADHD. It turns out that we have less of them and they don't work as well. And the whole point of them is they were saying that the things that are not important, that are habitual, that you do day in and day out, the reason why you have that part of your brain is it actually, they were saying it's, it cognitively takes up a lot of energy for you to always be trying to remember stuff. You know, I hate clothing labels. I cut them out of everything. Everything. Talk on. Yeah, that's one of my sensory things. I have two cousins that have it. That sensory issue is way worse than me. For me, I don't like the way certain clothes feel, so I like them loose unless I'm like going to work or going out. I don't want to feel them. I don't want to feel them. I'll wear looser clothes. And it's funny, I have socks that I wear around the house, and then there's socks that I wear out. There's clothes that I wear here, and there's clothes that I wear out. And I have to have things fit a specific way depending on what I'm doing. But yeah, I don't like the feeling of certain things. Oh, yes! I think I said that to you multiple times by accident once. I don't know if that was you or if it was Hakan. I can't tell you why I hate it so much. When I get out of the shower and you step on the with your wet feet on the cold floor, that feeling, I hate it. It's the worst. And then because I always forget to vacuum, you get the little bits of, it's like I have to put socks on my feet as soon as possible. Ooh. Yeah. What was I talking about the habit? Oh yeah, those habit neurons. They are there because it's expensive, energy-wise, to your brain to do things. So it's there to form habits for the things that you do on a daily basis. And I did not know that ADHD people can't really do that. So that's why, even though I might do the same thing every day, yeah, because yes, yeah. And it's funny. I want my socks to fit me a certain way when I'm here. I want my socks to fit me a certain way when I'm at work. And I want my socks to fit me a certain way when I go out. I feel crazy. I didn't know that that was part of neurodivergence. I just thought it was weird. Oh my God. When I first started dating my man, and we had been with each other for a little while, he was like, what are you doing? I just would spend half an hour to an hour trying different things on back and forth, because they would irritate me. And I would lose track of time. And then I would get frustrated because I couldn't find something to fit the way I wanted it to fit. Denim jean trousers, yes. And for girls, I'm not making this a thing. I'm not trying to be inappropriate, but undergarments. Because they're hugging you. And it's very irritating. All of them. Socks, all the undergarments, all of them. But yeah, because you wear loose clothes when you're in the house. You don't need super tight-fitting other things. I wear different shoes when I go to work. I wear specific sneakers because my feet roll in. So I have to wear these specific sneakers. Oh my God, guys, we've been on here a long time. Thank you. Are you guys coming here? What else did I forget for the brain? Oh, the very, very last thing that I didn't mention. The most depressing thing, that first week of my ADHD group, when we were talking about different parts of the brain that are physically different. This part doesn't work as well. Lower dopamine, and it's physically smaller. Huge part of ADHD. But I didn't know there are 4 parts of your brain that don't work well. This one, the limbic system, which is your emotional regulation. The basal ganglia, which I think it does some of all of it. And there's connections. The last one I didn't tell you. The reticulating connectivity system. Basically how the parts of your brain are supposed to talk to one another. Guess what? Ours sucks. So you might have parts of your brain that are working. So in order to do a task that seems simple, let's say you're planning your breakfast or you're getting your lunch together, you're doing something. Maybe it's not just your frontal lobe. Maybe there's a part of your brain that has to talk to another part of your brain. Maybe different parts of your brain do different things. They have to talk to one another. The information has to go back and forth for the action to take place. Now, imagine that the telephone lines are not working so great. There's a disconnect. So, I know. I think I don't know if I cried after that, but I was so depressed after that first meeting. On the one hand, I felt some relief and see, I knew I was different. I knew I couldn't do it if I tried. But then you're telling me part of my brain is smaller. Who wants to hear that? And that the circuitry ain't working right. And that you go to work and they're like, yeah, you really can't be late. I'm sorry. I'm like, why did I even have a meeting with you to tell you that, to disclose that to you, to tell you that I'm going to be late because I can't stop it? And then neurotypical person takes it like, we already had this talk. You already talked to me about this. We said we were going to work on this, and now I get in trouble for it. I'm like, were we having two different conversations? The whole reason that I disclosed and told you about this thing I'm already embarrassed by is so I don't get in trouble, so you understand that I'm trying and that I'm not making it up. And then I would get in trouble for it more. So I think I covered all the areas of the brain. We can discuss next time what you guys think of changing the term symptoms to traits, how you feel about that. I kind of have conflicting feelings about that because I feel like it's sugarcoating something. I understand where they're coming from because some people might not appreciate the term symptoms because it makes them feel like they have a disease. But me possibly getting in a car accident, if I don't take my ADHD med and now I can't think straight, or having a headache if I don't take it, that is a physical symptom. I'm sorry. Not being able to see well and having to go get a pair of glasses, that's a physical symptom of organ, a physical organ. That's part of your body. To me, I'm like, yeah, it's a symptom. Yeah, it's not working like it's supposed to be. I feel like we have both. So there is like the neurodivergent movement to help us feel like there's nothing wrong with us, right? It supports us so that it's not demonizing us and making us feel like mentally deficient. But it's still disability if it's something that interferes with you being able to keep a job, buy groceries, be able to work, be able to keep friends, being able to have relationships, knowing how to talk to people. What part of your life is not affected by a brain that works differently? When does it become a disability? And is it not a disability now that we want to support one another? Like, hey, we are neurodivergent. We are awesome the way we are. Yes, but that doesn't mean we don't have challenges, right? Let's see. My brain is starting to go mush. I'm surprised that my brain's starting to shut off. So I don't know how long I can't believe it. I've been on here for 3 hours. So how'd I do today, guys? Do you like it so far? If you have any suggestions or if there's something specific you want to talk about, let me know. I mean, I can ramble on for hours about countless stuff. Yes. It's a good question, right? So I don't know about autism. Yes. Yes. If your brain is neurodivergent, and I know somebody had said like they want to deal away with the spectrum, and I don't think they can do that, especially with autism, because I think it's very important. Now, if somebody goes, everyone's on the spectrum, no. Just like ADHD, there are brain scans of people with autism that look different than a neurotypical brain. I'm sorry, they're not the same. They're not the same. The person who I felt like described it perfectly she's a young woman. I can't remember if she's Australian or if she's English. I think she's got dark hair and she might be in her 20s. I don't know. And her channel is called I'm Autistic, Now What? And I don't know if you guys heard of the that Reddit group that goes after autistic content creators called Fake Disorder Cringe. They're kind of unhinged. They're kind of scary. If anybody looks normal, they assume you must be faking. And I feel like this is harmful. And it's actually really concerning to me. Do you guys know about this movement? I mean, these people might come after me someday, maybe. I'm a small channel. So that's another thing motivating me to make sure. Thank you, Hakan. I really want to make sure, like, I know I'm giving you good information. I know that I take all the time to dig up these things, and I do all the stuff that school requires you to do. I'm diligent. I make sure I learn what is peer reviewed and what isn't. So I'm not giving you, and I also check the dates because there are new things that come out all the time. It's been great. Creativity, I have no problems with that. That might be one of your gifts. I love music. I feel like there's something about music, and I don't know if it's the tempo or like how the sound affects you emotionally, but there's something, I feel like music can lift you up, and it can calm you. I feel like it has such a good effect. Definitely creativity. When neurodivergents have a lot of creativity. Yeah. Be careful. Have to be careful with peer reviewed, as these days is not what right. So you have to make sure something actually is peer reviewed. So let me give you an example. And this is when these things happen to me, that makes me even more critical, which makes it a pain in the ass. So if I'm going to do all this work that I had to do for myself, and I put something out there, and I try to share this with some of my coworkers, and they're like, no. It's like, what's wrong with you? It took years for me to learn this. And this is not nothing. Wait, you don't even have this. Yeah, they'll fight you. That's like, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Anyone who has an invisible disability at all. I've seen them do this to blind people on YouTube. Do you guys know Sienna? I've seen her she has a channel on here. She's a sweetheart. She is totally blind. And I can't remember the name, something dysplasia, that caused her to be completely blind at birth and have autism. Right. I want to make sure if I give you information, and don't just take my word for it. I'd love you to, but at the same time, I'm not helping anyone if I just have you depend on me. All right. So it's really important. If anything, I teach you how you can look some of this stuff up, and it's hard. Reading medical journals is hard. You guys probably haven't taken medical terminology. I've taken medical terminology. I can look at some of these words and I can figure out what they mean because I know the word parts, and even that's hard. So sometimes I get excited and geek out, and I'll dig up an article, and it has been a long time that I forget that I have to learn all over again how to understand them. And I try, and I get so excited, and I start to read all the big words, and then I'll say to my lovey, I'll be like, "Hey, check this out," and I'll start reading a sentence, da 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 da, and then all of a sudden my brain will be like, "Oh, dude, we don't do this anymore. What are you doing? You're requiring me to concentrate. This is too much." Yeah, Sienna's a sweetheart. I love her. So yeah, she's a sweetheart. I don't know if you guys know Claire at Woodshed Theory. She has a podcast where she'll have some of the more visible autistic YouTubers in the community will come on. So she has interviewed her. So she got to be on her podcast. Like Orion, Neurodivergent, a couple others. I think that we're all, at first I was like, if I do a YouTube channel, am I just giving them things they can look up anyway? And then I realized, wait, we're all different enough that somebody else's approach isn't going to work for everybody. And I'm a Gen Xer, and I'm kind of a no BS person, and I don't know, all these things that I struggle with, maybe I can come up with a way that helps people too. What peer-reviewed means, and peer-reviewed is kind of like the gold standard. What peer-reviewed means is that it has been reviewed by enough experts in the field from various different organizations and then published. and then published to be scrutinized by the scientific or medical establishment around the world, and that it has passed scrutiny. It has been proven. That's, and so we were allowed to use like the Mayo Clinic and other hospitals as peer reviewed, but I tend to prefer looking up actual medical studies because I can actually look at the study and I can actually read all of the description of how they did the study. And I can tell if it's done the right way. I can tell if it's double blind. I can tell if they use the right amount of people, and I can tell if they did it the right way. And if you should listen to it or not. And you can look at the date because they're always coming up like every single week. Dr. Russell Barkley, who is, I think he's a he's a medical doctor and a neuroscientist. So he deals specifically with ADHD. He's a little hard to watch because he gets into all the nuts and bolts, and I believe he's neurotypical, so it's kind of boring. It's hard to watch it. But yeah, I'm definitely going to make shorts out of some of the stuff because he will tell you facts. He will not tell you what you want to hear. He will not tell you what society wants to hear. He will not tell you what the parents want to hear. He's going to tell you facts. And he straight up says they have squashed some of his work because they don't want it in the public. Like, those fears about kids having too much medication. He said that there's actual evidence, which I didn't know. You know how all these fears of having kids on stimulant medications? I think if it's a small enough dose, you do an appropriate dose for a child. The same thing with any other medicine. You have a baby aspirin and you have an adult aspirin. You can know the physiology and the brain of a child, and you can know what's safe and what's harmful. But the thing that was really interesting that I learned from him, and he's been working in the ADHD field for decades, and he still, every single week, he does a post on his channel of the newest research that came out and what it has proven. So every week, that you can't expect more than that. Most people don't do that. There you go. You can talk about music as much as you want. So yeah, he had, before I go, I'll just mention the study he did. Not him. I don't know if I'll find it. I'll find the clip because it's better to get it right from the horse's mouth than from me. Because he's about facts, And these studies showed something that television's never going to put on TV, which I was shocked. Did you know? You know how I was saying the ADHD brain develops slower through your lifetime and it develops differently? They were saying the different studies have shown if you give a child in his or her early development, not as a baby, as a child at an appropriate age that it's not going to be harmful for them, ADHD meds, I guess your brain needs the appropriate amount of dopamine to develop. And because we're dopamine deficient, our brains don't develop as well. So these studies prove that when children actually have exposure to specific stimulant, their brain actually develops like a regular neurotypical person. And it actually, you don't have a part of your brain that's too small. Not that I'd ever give up me being neurodivergent. We wouldn't have like Einstein and Tesla and all these wonderful people. We need them too. But it would be nice to not have a headache when I try to remember basic stuff. Right? I love you guys. I'm so grateful you're here. Let me know if there's anything I can improve or anything more you'd like to hear. You owned nightclubs? Oh, that's Alan. I was going to ask you how you became so successful. Guys, I'm like dying. I'm so tired. What time is it? Let me check the time. It's 7:30. I can tell my man wants to come in, but I'm doing this. And I'm like, we have a small place. So it's like open concept and it's small. So our TV room is our bedroom and our kitchen. So, so what are you guys talking about before I go? So you're talking about music, something about music. See, I think that's great. I think, Hakon, you can. I think that's great. Talk about the things you love. You're in your best. Oh, so that you're not info dumping. We can do different meetings on that. So how many times a week do you guys want to meet? I don't think I could do more than 2. Oh yeah. And then Hakon, Einstein did not talk. I think he didn't speak for the first 5 years, so they suspect he might have had autism. But it is tricky trying to project or apply. You can't diagnose somebody from another time. Do you hear about that dude who got possession of his brain and hacked it up into a bunch of pieces? And he wasn't supposed to do that. And he kept it for years. Terrible. Oh man, was his family not happy. And he said to everybody that he was going to share some wonderful discoveries about Einstein's brain. And he never published the stuff he was going to do. And he kept slicing it until there wasn't anything left. I love you guys. I hope you have a wonderful night. I'm tired. I need to go eat. Message me. And Sherry, are you asking me, Ego, what my favorite music is before I leave? I love a lot of music. I'm kind of biased, so it's going to sound kind of judgmental, but a lot of rap I don't like. I think I liked it more in the 90s when it was more entertaining. And that's just preference. I have no, some of it I do. I don't know if it's because I'm a girl. I don't know if it's a girl thing. I know a lot of women like some metal. Some metal's good, but this is just a preference. This is just a me thing. Like people like different flavors of food, and there's no right or wrong. I don't like that really violent, angry death metal shit. That's just like, I'm like, it's a lot. I mean, maybe it's a sensory thing. It just goes right. And because I'm like this empathetic person, that the whole vibe of the music gets into my energy field and then I can't get it out. Well, I love pop too. I did it the other way around. I just started with the things I don't like. And I don't like country. I like country that's like, pop. Fake country, because I like pop. And I don't like pop. I like some pop. I like people who are creative and different. Go look up Regina Spektor. She's a sweetheart. I think she might be neurodivergent. You can tell when you listen to her that she creates very unique. Like I listened to like a live thing that she was doing, and she was just like in an office, and she was being interviewed, and she started turning the chairs and the table into like percussion things, and I thought that was cute. Hakon, that is how my fiance likes that kind of likes metal. But there's some crossover. Like for the most part, we almost listen to opposite kind of music. So when he's around, I feel weird listening to the kind I like because I know he doesn't like it. Sometimes I like stuff from when I was younger. Really? I did not know that. I recently saw a documentary about her, Alan. She was in how do I say this? Did you know what her parents did? Which I didn't know. So that image she created, it ended up being like not the real her. If you hear her talk now, she talks actually very deeply, like a deep voice. She says now when she's being interviewed, now she's like authentic. And she says that that was basically a trauma response because her, oh, that's right, she is neurodivergent because they didn't know what to do with her. I don't know if she has ADHD. I don't remember what it is, but they thought she was being difficult. And what ended up happening is this, because they're rich and they didn't bother to like do research into this place, they hired this special school. And these people like came in the middle of the night wearing dark clothes and kidnapped her. And their parents were like crying at the door. And she didn't know what was going on. I mean, like how traumatic, how fucked up can you get? And then they had her in this place and she was abused. And so that's why she'll speak to like Congress or whatever about that. So if you're interested to learn more about that, go look up Paris. But yeah, comment, guys, everybody, comment. I'm just going to ask you one favor. I've been on almost 4 hours. Ask one favor, if you guys can do this for me. I don't care which of the posts. I might put like a question. Yeah, she was. Because they were treating everybody like drug addicts. But they were doing gynecological exams on them. Like, how is that okay? I don't care if they're hiding drugs. And she wasn't. So that's like, and the parents say that they didn't know. I'm not really fond of her mom. You know what Betty Davis did to Natalie Wood's mom? That's what I would like to do to Kathy Hilton. I think she's a piece of garbage. I don't care how rich you are. It's your responsibility to dig up dirt. The more rich you are, let me tell you, if they made a decision about their business, if they were to get in bed, like business-wise, with any other company, don't you know they would be doing, digging up dirt on them? They'd be doing all kinds of credit reports. They'd be looking up police reports. They'd be looking up anything. But I find it hard to believe that they say that we didn't know. But they wouldn't do that with their own daughter. They said they didn't know that was going to happen. Why would you just take their word for it? That's stupid. I'm sorry, but that's stupid. That's dumb. They know better. And that was their responsibility. That was their daughter. Just saying. I love you guys. Do me a favor. Go to my posts. I don't even care which one. It could be like the last one. And think about it, what you want me to talk about in the next one. And let me know if you want to meet twice a week. And what you want to talk about next. Like what part is interesting to you. The biology part. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, we can talk about the challenges in relationships. Yeah. I didn't like the way they worded things in this. I got kind of offended because they were using the same wording they used to use. And of course, everything's worded towards children still. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy they have support. For instance, the ways that ADHD can cause problems in your life. I'm not going to get into it because I'm leaving. The way they word things, I don't like. So, one, difficulty at school. Fine, you're talking about children. So that's part of our life as neurodivergent, and we're children. We're going to have trouble in our childhood. But teachers may express frustration with your child's distractibility. I'm just reading this sentence really quick. There's an inability to stay on thought. Was this the one? No, that one I agree with. What was it? They made it like they were choosing not to listen. And I'm like, you're missing the point. Even today. And when we're talking about peer-reviewed, I'm not trusting Mayo Clinic's website anymore because the information they have about ADHD is old and incorrect, like very old. I feel like the outlook on ADHD, it can be described as neurodivergence, meaning people with the condition have brains that work differently from what's considered typical, but it's certainly not bad. ADHD is not a disease or a horrible life sentence. It's a disorder with ever-evolving traits, says Dr. Akasha. Instead, it's the fact that these traits are outside of what society deems acceptable. So that was another thing I definitely want to talk to you guys about next time. And I wrote notes. I wrote, the focus seems to be to fix the student or the employee. Still, it's outside. Instead, it's the fact that these traits are outside what society deems acceptable. So what is disordered, us or society? And how do we live in it and be successful without having to continue to mask and fit into rigid expectations? For example, you must sit still in class in order to be considered a good kid. And that causes problems. I know there was a certain thing that they said that I got upset. I don't know, my brain's turning into mush, guys. I'm going to let you go. Write in the comments in my community section what you like, what would be interesting to you, what do you want to see more, and what type of information will help you. And next time, do you want me to tell you the difference? Do you want me to look up the differences, the neurological difference of an autistic brain? And would that be more helpful, or do you want to talk more about societal expectations in the workplace? So I love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting me. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it. Never feel you have to stay, though. I'm happy. I think it's great, but never feel you have to stay. If you have to ever leave, I'll never be offended. And I'm going to go eat. And if it's dinner time where you are, or whatever time, don't forget to eat. Don't forget to drink your water. Don't forget to take your medicine if you have to do so to feel better. Take care of yourself first. And I hope you be well. Bye. I can't believe how long that live